so much for joining us this evening on St. Patrick's Day. I see a lot of green in the audience. Very festive. As well, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I believe Director Solomon is going to have the rest of the presentation.
Tonight it is my pleasure to introduce Hillsboro High School Counselor Marla Lyle and a group of students and staff members from Hillsboro High School to present information relating to the first annual College Application Week through Oregon Department of Education's Gear Up program. ODE's Gear Up program supports schools in their efforts to set high academic expectations, promote early awareness of college opportunities, and engage students in college and career planning. So please join me in welcoming Hillsboro High School students and staff.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for having us tonight. I'm really proud of these students and they're going to tell you some personal impact this National College Application Week and some things that it did for them and caused them to think about their futures a little bit more. Just a little bit more information. We at Hill High call this campaign the National College Application Week. We also call it the Oregon College Application Week. There were all 50 states in the nation that participated in this national week, and there were 86 sites in Oregon alone. And Hill High is the very first school in the Hillsboro School District which has offered to participate. So, first of all, I'd like to tell you that the primary purpose of the effort is to help high school seniors navigate the complex college admissions process. And I'm sure if any of you have applied to college anytime lately, you would know that it's not always a fun process. So I'm sure that our group in Hill High would say the same. What we did in this National College Application Week is we had all of our students, we had to commit to having a ratio of 5 to 1, so 5 students to 1 adult. We used 3 regular English classes, senior English classes. There were about 102 students, and our goal was that all of these students come out with a viable career college plan. We did meet our goal after several days of follow-up after that particular week. The week we chose was the first week in November. So we did meet that goal. We met even for days after that actual week. We met with all 102 of those students, and that's myself and a whole team of people that committed to participating this week. Every student had a viable plan, but it doesn't mean that that's the plan that they're actually going to carry out. So we might have had a student, for example, apply to PCC during that college application week, but they may not be going to PCC. They might have applied to a different college after that. So when I say viable plan, it was a viable plan that they came in with during that evening. We have seen for our students that just the application alone can be a huge barrier to our students applying for college. So we wanted to make sure that we spent a whole week during the school day to help our students actually fill out at least one application for a post-secondary institution. So that could mean a four-year school, a community college, a vocational school, the military, and I think those were everything that was included there for us. So a few statistics. First of all, I would like to make mention to Stacy Glaze. She was the senior English teacher that helped us to implement this project. And the project required a lot of planning. Besides making sure that we had five students every one adult in a classroom of 40 students, and we had 3 classrooms, Stacy and I put together a college curriculum. So we started at the very beginning of the school year so that we would make sure that our students had ample time to actually research a college. So we didn't want to throw the kids into the computer lab during that application week and say, okay, here you go, let's find a school, let's apply today. We wanted it to have a lot of meaning to our students. So some of the statistics that I would like to talk to you a little bit about regarding those 102 students. At the end of the unit, we had 84% of those students who actually took a national survey. And in the survey, we found that 79% of our students applied to a community college during that week. 11% applied to a four-year college during that week. 5% applied to a private college during that week. And 6% applied to a career college or the military. So again, our goal was to make sure that our students applied to one college during that week. So again, it doesn't mean that they're going to PCC or they're going to a four-year college, but those are the ones that they chose to apply to. 79% of our students who participated in the survey applied to a college in Oregon. 21% applied to a college or university or post-secondary institution outside Oregon. PCC was our most popular school, and that could be for many reasons. A lot of students from our school attend. They do go to PCC, but it could also be a backup school for some of our students, and it is probably the most affordable for many of our students, so there's many reasons why our students apply for PCC. 86% of our students said that this was the very first college application that they had ever done. 66% of our students who applied were first-generation college students. So looking at that number alone, it tells me that they might not have had the help at home that they would like to have. Yes, a lot of times our parents and guardians are there for us just to cheer us on, but if they've never gone through the process, it might be harder for them to help our students. So for our students to have that time during the school day and looking at that number, to me it was a really important thing that we did. Seniors were asked who they got most of their information from regarding college in general, and their number one answer was their teachers and their counselors. And then seniors were also asked who was the most influential in their college decision during that week, and it was their parents or guardians. Teachers and counselors were next. So I would like to, I brought a great cheering section and 7 students who were part of that week, and I would love for them to come up here and just tell you what kind of impact. So how I prepped them, I said, I want you to come and I want you to be prepared to tell our audience how this week impacted you, what kind of influence it had on you. So come on up, guys. So why don't you start by just introducing yourself, and again, thinking about the question. I know it's kind of hard when you're in front of all these people, but think about how this application week helped you. Okay, Bruno.
So this my name is Bruno Guizar. Obviously, I'm from Hillsboro High School, and college application week helped me a lot because I applied before college application week, and it was really tough because my mom had never applied to a college or any post-secondary school. So it was really difficult for us to fill it out and figure it out, but we ended up doing it. And then once we had this college application week, I saw it as a opportunity to be able to apply to more than one college because of how difficult it was. And I applied to PCC and Western Oregon. I haven't heard back from Western Oregon, but I heard back from the college before application week, and that was Southern Oregon University. And I actually got accepted, so.
My name is Miguel Fuentes, and the way that college application helped me, the way that it helped me is that before we started doing this, way before my junior year, I really wasn't thinking about college at all. I didn't have it in my mind. I didn't care about it, and but then I got time with the counselors, my parents. And all the resources I all had it there, and it helped me a lot. And also that, I had a modified diploma, and for that, I wanted a regular diploma. So since I'm a senior, I'm staying another year at Hillsboro to get that regular diploma, because what I want to do is to join the United States Marine Corps. And also, some other reason right here is that I got the chance to also speak with the board of directors today and also tell the honest of my story that what I'm doing also here is also to step up, because our leadership in the ranks of our corps is not doing well at how most people would seem it would be. Here's a quote that I have from Commander of our Marine Corps. However, many of our units are experiencing significant gaps in the numbers of unit leaders within the right grade, experience, technical, and leadership qualifications associated with their billets. Specifically, our current inventory of non-commissioned officers and staff non-commissioned officers is not meeting our force structure requirements, and this shortfall must be addressed. General Joseph F. Dunford, 36th Commandant of the Marine Corps. I'm stepping up to be a leader because the Marine Corps needs leaders. They need leaders like me to step up. Even my recruiters told me they never had, of the people who they sent to boot camp, very, very few of those people came back to be leaders. And that's what I plan to do, is become a leader. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kaden Cowan, and college application week helped me a lot. I started my senior year stressed out because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what school I wanted to go to, and I definitely did not know what career I wanted to go to. But because of college application week, they helped me out by figuring out that I wanted to go to PCC Rock Creek for welding instruction. Because, and I thought it helped me think about, I know a lot of good family members that have done it. It's a great career, I was happy that I was able to get the opportunities that a lot of students in the past weren't able to have. And I appreciate it a lot. Thank you.
So my name is Esmeralda Lozama, and the way that college application week helped me was that I have always wanted to do cosmetology and have my own hair salon after high school. And my original plan was to go to either Portland State or Western and study business, and then from there go on to a vocational school and get my cosmetology license. And Ms. Lyle actually during that week told me about Mount Hood and how they have a cosmetology program. So it's gonna save me a lot of money and a lot of time to be able to, and so during that week I applied to Mount Hood and actually got accepted. So that's all.
I'm Sydney Diaz, and I plan on going to Western for psychology and then becoming a police officer and hopefully working my way up to SWAT. And also military is part of my existing options. And I have not quite yet applied for more colleges, but I'm almost there.
My name is Caitlin Crow, and college application week impacted me by when I was going into college application week, I had a plan, but I applied to Pacific and I didn't get in for social work, so then I had opportunities to look for different options, and so I applied to Western for nursing and I got in, so that's where I'll be going.
Go Sparks!
I do want to let you know also that our district, all the high schools in our district have committed to National College Application Week for next year.
Marla, could you talk about just for a second about what is the most common barrier you hear for people that are applying? Is it
Definitely. One of the barriers that I see, I don't necessarily hear, I see, is that, especially in our population in Ohio, is that our kids don't have the resources sitting with them to fill out the application. So the application, if you have seen one lately, or get online and look for one, it's very overwhelming looking. Especially when our students are asked to put in all of their years of language arts, all of their years of math. They look at that and go, oh, even though we know that they can have a transcript in front of them to do all of that, they kind of look at it as, And I know this for a fact too, because my kids went to high school with my kids, and I have a senior this year also, and she applied to Oregon State, she got accepted, but it was very overwhelming to her. She said, Mom, I cannot do this until you sit down and help me. She goes, how do kids do this if they don't have a parent that knows what they're doing? And I said, we have wonderful kids like this that figure it out. Not everybody does, but that's the reason for National College Application Week. So the application, and then cost. You know, cost is another one. You know, we let students know, don't let that be a barrier. Let's apply, and let's see what kind of financial aid we can get, and then we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Could you maybe step out here so you don't kind of light issue?
As a son who is graduating this year from Western Oregon University, go Wolves.
Great school. This way about 90 degrees. Excellent. A little more. Just trying to get you away from that screen. Okay. All right. We'll do 2. 1, 2, 3. Maybe. Line. 1, 2. Oh, that's okay. Auto. Yep. Okay, we'll try it again. There we go. Okay, one more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Nice job, guys.
All right, and with that, I'm looking for an approval of the revised agenda as printed. And the revised agenda includes the component where we recess and move into a meeting of the local contract review board and then come back.
So I move that we approve the revised agenda as printed, including the emergency declaration.
Second.
And moved by Glenn, seconded by Eric to approve the agenda. Any questions? Yes, comment.
On the comment, I just wanted to say that a lot of times we, quickly look over this and approve this as a package, but when you really look at the gifts and donations...
and we're not even to consent. You want to hold your comment for consent agenda?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I was moving right along.
You were moving right along. Okay, thank you. All right. So with that, it was moved by Glenn, seconded by Eric. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll move into audience time. I have 2 cards this evening. If there's anyone else in the audience who wanted to speak this evening, you would need to fill out the board agenda card, which is at the back of the table. Looking to see if anyone stands up. Okay. First up will be Kathy Makika, and on deck is Joel Lucro. And I'll remind everybody, public participation in board meetings is governed by policy DBH. Patrons may comment on specific agenda items at the beginning of the meeting or at the discretion of the board chair. They may be deferred to the time the item is before the board as stated in the agenda. Comments about non-agenda items will be heard during the audience time at the beginning of the regular board meeting. Speakers shall be limited to 3 minutes. Speakers may offer objective criticisms of school operations and programs that are of concern to them. However, in public sessions, the board will not hear personal complaints of school personnel nor against any person connected with the school system. Other channels provide for board consideration and disposition of legitimate complaints involving individuals, including board policy KLB. And with that, Kathy's up. And Kathy, just a reminder, name and address for the record and then the secretary.
My name is Stephanie Kitkin. I live in Hillsboro. And I've been talking about the age appropriateness of materials and standards with regards to the district's human sexuality policy. I'm starting today with a little bit of housekeeping. Back on February 23rd, I emailed Travis with a request for data. I think I copied Superintendent Scott also. I haven't received a reply or an acknowledgement of this email. And I know that emails get lost in the ether. They get accidentally deleted. They get put on the bottom of a very big pile of work. So I'm just going to restate my request here, and I will email again tomorrow because I'm going to add to that request. But what I sent was this. I'm specifically requesting to see a study showing the age appropriateness of demonstrating the steps to use condoms to a co-ed class of 11 to 12-year-old children. Please see the Oregon Health Education Standards and Benchmarks, Master GLM, 6383, page number 10. If the new state standards and benchmarks are to be implemented in this district, I request proof that it is appropriate for that age. I have some doubts. So that's what I sent. And I noticed that the policy passed by the board on December 9th says that the comprehensive plan of instruction shall emphasize skills-based instruction that is research-based or evidence-based. So basically, I'm asking for that evidence, and I hope to receive that soon. And I'm going to add to that request, the policy, the human sexuality policy, also says that the board will review the plan of instruction biennially, and it will be updated in accordance with new scientific evidence and effective education strategies. So I'm requesting to see these new scientific evidence that was used in the most recent update of the plan of instruction. So I'd like to have that sent to me. And regardless of any studies, parents really are the experts when it comes to what's appropriate for their children. And with that in mind, it's extremely important that parents know what is presented to their kids and when. And so that brings us to the 5th paragraph in the human sexuality policy. It says that parents will be notified in advance of any human sexuality, AIDS, HIV instruction, and that there's to be a parental notification process in place. So I'm wondering, has this process been created? How are parents in this district notified? And how does this district, school principal or teacher, know for a fact that parents and guardians actually received the notification? You know, we've heard from several parents here in the last few months who weren't notified prior to their child being exposed to material that they found objectionable. That's like a civil rights violation. It's kind of serious. So does the district assume that just because the material was sent out, that it actually got to the parents or guardians? So really the question boils down to, how do you know that you're communicating with parents? Thank you.
So I know that Travis continues to answer your questions, and I know that he's continued to offer to meet with you and to address those concerns in person, and you've not taken him up on that offer. We also, I would encourage you, like we have in the past, to take your concerns to Salem, where you can have some impact on the curriculum that's being proposed throughout the state.
Joel? Same thing, Joel, if you could state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hello, Joel Lubro, 235 Southwest 212th Avenue, Aloha, Oregon, 97006. I wanted to commend everyone in the district that had anything to do with last Monday's educational summit on Smarter Balanced over at Hillsboro High School. I enjoyed it, and I saw it had a pretty good turnout, not as much as I'd like, but there were a lot of people there, and we had a pretty substantial amount of time to ask questions. And one question I still have that's left unasked or unanswered is, when at Liberty will the Smarter Balance tests be delivered? I don't know if it's in April or if it's in May. I guess there's 3.5 hours of testing for English and 3.5 hours of testing for math. I don't know how that's going to be broken up over the school day. Are they just going to sit them down at 8 o'clock and do the whole 3.5 hours of math and just knock it out before lunch? Or are they going to break it up over a couple of days? It seems like you've got the SAT scheduled, the ACT scheduled. I'd like to put on my calendar when the Smarter Balance tests will be at my child's school so that I can feel like this is really going to happen. And I'd also like to know when the 11th grade Oaks test for science is going to be as well. And I've tried to get that information from Greg Timmons, and I've not been successful. Thank you.
Matt, can you follow up with Joel, or if you're ready, you can address that?
Yeah, I will communicate with Mr. Timmons, and I know that Liberty High School has a plan that's in place, and we'll make sure that the parents have that.
Okay.
Thank you. And with that, we would move to consent agenda. They're looking for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Moved by Janine, seconded by Adriana. Janine, would you like to make a comment?
Yes, thank you. I'm just saying that a lot of times we put these in a package, and when you really look at the kind of things that, especially under like the donations page, when you look at the significant investments in our schools, it's incredible. So that's what I just wanted to
putting that out. I see Hillsboro Schools Foundation on there, and a lot of local businesses, as well as parent groups. And every month, it's just amazing and incredible, the support.
Any other questions or comments on the consent agenda? So with that, it's been moved by Janine, seconded by Adriana. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving into action items, the first item is the 2015-16 district calendar. Debbie.
Thank you. Tonight you are scheduled to adopt the 2015-16 school calendar. You had two options with an alternative for conferences presented to you on February 10th at the board meeting, and they were put up for review. Since then, we've received feedback from staff, some questions from board members, and feedback from the community. If you can remember back, you had requested that we do some kind of a survey of the community. So Beth did put a survey up on our website, and we collected information that way. We also received several emails from staff. And so after reviewing all of the information, you have a recommendation before you that you adopt calendar B, that is the calendar that actually starts school after Labor Day, and it has the parent conferences mid-November versus the week of Thanksgiving. Some of the information that was gathered, you know what the survey results were. It was just kind of a preference from the community. Information that we gathered was that in late August, there are community events that happen that involve our children, our students, such as 4-H, that could be impacted by a start in late August and preclude students from either coming to school or being able to participate in those activities. We were also asked by a board member about what our history was when we've had late Labor Days. What decisions has the board made previous to this? So we looked back, and there were 4 years that we found, 1998, 2004, 2009, and 2010, where Labor Day happened late. It was the 6th and the 7th, and all of those, the board had decided to start school after Labor Day on those, so there was a history. Other feedback that we used to make this recommendation and other information is that student and staff attendance, considering the before Labor Day start, the after Labor Day start, and the placement of the parent conferences at Thanksgiving, we felt that this option would be with conferences happening mid-month versus at the end of the month, would have a better impact on attendance for both students and staff. Balanced instructional days for the semester are balanced. And another question that had come up had been about classified employees. Is there any difference in pay for classified employees? 10-month employees, whether we start before or after Labor Day? And the answer for that is no, there is no difference. They get paid for that day. It's part of their contract. So all of those things were considered as we made this recommendation for the calendar that starts after Labor Day.
Please for a motion, and then let's grab questions and comments.
I make a motion to approve the Hillsboro School District calendar 2015 to 2016.
Can you be more specific? I'm sorry. Page 25 of the packet, so that includes what the start date is and when the conferences are.
Starting after Labor Day. Excuse me, let me read this thing. Community. So I make a motion to approve the 2015 to 2016 school calendar, beginning school after Labor Day.
And how about the scheduling of fall conferences?
And scheduling the fall conference is in mid-November.
Thank you. Excuse me. She's looking at the actual calendar and not the situation page. So she's trying to find the date. So I've been looking for a second on a calendar that would begin school on September 8th after Labor Day and schedule fall conferences during the second week of November.
I will second that.
Thank you. All right, any questions or comments, Wayne?
So the main reason this came up at all was because you brought it forward because of a series of benefits or potential benefits that you saw to it, and you didn't comment on those. I'm curious what the feedback was about the benefits that you, the primary reasons you came forward in the first place with the alternative.
Well, and one of the benefits that I left off was that we have Beaverton and Tigard both starting after Labor Day, and so the alignment with our neighbor districts was another consideration. So your question is?
The question is, when you brought it up for discussion to start at any other point than this obvious conclusion, it was because of a series of benefits to the other option.
Correct. There were benefits for both sides. Yes.
And I was curious what the feedback was in that direction. Whether the resulting recommendation is all about history and assumption and the calendar's already made, or whether it's from a long-term, bigger perspective, it's not a good idea.
Right. We actually didn't get specific feedback on the other calendar per se. Some of the benefits that, or the pros for starting before Labor Day had to do with when the school year would end. And we did have some conversations internally about that afterwards, and felt that, if we have a snow day, let's say, at the end that would push the year later, that we would hopefully know that early enough in the spring and be able to work with our partners on that to make sure that any kind of summer activities that will be in the hopper for being planned would be able to be pushed out and start after that, the end of the school year. So that was one of the pieces.
And there was connection to coursework, teacher...
At the University of Oregon.
University coursework that was potentially impacted by late...
Yeah, and that could be impacted by the snow day. And we felt that there could be workarounds with the universities on that, and we could accommodate, depending on the staff. It wouldn't be that many staff that would be impacted by it. And we felt like we could work around that with staff if we had to have another day. Typically, that last day that would push in would be, it would be a teacher work day, which is a late day, and we could accommodate that and work around that.
I mentioned it mainly because it's just a planning perspective, and it really was, all else aside, a better idea to start earlier on those kind of time frames. Then we know what the calendar looks like forever in advance, and we could advance years ahead of time and intention if you believe that the starting times were advantageous for staff and students. There would be an issue of planning ahead of time to make it happen next time rather than...
Yeah. And actually, Mike and I talked a little bit about this, about maybe doing calendars farther in advance, because we looked at next Labor Day, and it's a late Labor Day also. Yeah. And so there is...
Happened 2 in a row, so that's why...
Yeah, 2, possibly 3 actually. It looks like 2017 also.
Depends on how leap year falls in.
Yeah, so we talked about that as a possibility.
For this time around, though, we didn't start that early, and so people had already made plans, and we heard from those people.
That's why I wanted to hear. I mean, it seems like from a long term, in fact, the most common questions I've gotten are about why is there always a guessing game when people are planning their lives that far ahead that they can't know when the district is.
We could, Val, if you just put that on our tickler to move that earlier next year, we could definitely accommodate that.
Okay, we'll grab Janine and then Adriana.
Actually, there's some opportunity that if this is voted in, to be able to share that information back with folks. I'm sorry if you said this, to be able to say next year, hey, heads up. But overwhelmingly, the people that I talked to, so my personal opinion, I liked the earlier start. For the first time in many, 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 many years, I won't have any students in the school district because my last child, my baby, is a senior. But I like it because you start and you kind of get all your ducks in a row, and you get your classes going, and you get all your supplies in and whatnot. You have the Labor Day, and then you just start back with school. And I just like that earlier start to it. But I completely understand when I went and talked to 5th graders at Witch Hazel, when I read to them, and then I said, okay, let's have a discussion afterwards, and we talked about it. They were like, majority of them were like, no, later, you know. So, and staff members were, you know, we had made plans plans. There was vacation plans and such, and so I personally love the idea of the earlier. So if that's an issue and a thought, as Wayne is bringing up, the earlier the better on that. So.
Adriana? I just want to say that I appreciate that you looked in the years past, just because in making that decision, it would be like, well, why this year change it? So coupled with everything else. So I kind of agree that we do it up front, or if we're going to start all the time after Labor Day. Make life easy. Or Monty?
Their survey, 6733 is what I saw?
Yes.
Was that just?
It's 6337.
Yeah.
And then 6733 on the Spanish responses.
But was that staff and parents together?
It was all, yeah. And it could
so
be
we don't
staff
have a
and
breakdown of what staff said and what parents said? And the second question was, I'm seeing that we got a snow day on a Monday, possibly, again. How are we going to address that so that it's not what we ran into this year?
Well, I think
you can make it not snow.
It's pretty unpredictable. I think.
Well, no, I understand that,
yeah.
but once we get 2 snow days, we're talking about Monday again.
Correct.
And if we know that's coming, or the potential of that's coming, we have Plan B, make that happen sometime earlier than the last days.
We used to be able to have that Plan B, but that wasn't necessarily good news because that was dependent on our budget reduction days. And so what would happen is we had budget reduction days that were identified in the spring. And so at the end of winter, we would decide, okay, we've got to add back 2 days, and we could absorb a couple of those budget reduction days and add those back. Now that we've got a full calendar, we balance the semesters, and it ends when it ends. And so we're going to be in that situation until it rolls forward in a couple years.
Well, and could it, because currently the Friday is a last day for teachers, could it that become a student contact day? Yeah. And the last day for teachers rolls to Monday?
Sure.
So it can be a for teacher, but not.
2 days.
Well, because Thursday is a half day, but I'm almost wondering if you can capture, is there a possibility of capturing a day and a half in that Thursday and Friday?
Yeah.
Something we haven't done it that way before, but maybe there's a way
Just
to.
It could be creative if we get that. Yeah.
Just a Plan B, so
Yes.
we're ready for it, opposed to what we did this year.
One other thing I wanted to just point out is what we noticed on the calendar that we gave you is that the month, we just found this out today, the month of June, your calendar has the total days up in the corner up here, and we have the 13, and it actually is 12 days. The count for the equal semesters was accurate, but on the final calendar we need to put in June that the total number of days is 12 versus 13. It has nothing really to do with your decision making. It was just a slight error we found on the calendar that we would want to correct.
And I just wanted to add, I appreciate the survey and the time we took to make it easy for people to give feedback, for sure, in the community. And as we've been visiting schools, everyone had a strong opinion one way or the other. There was no gray area. So with that, it was moved by Gianna and seconded by Glenn to approve the school calendar starting after Labor Day on September 8th, having conferences in mid-November. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Debbie. Next on our action items is to adopt the mathematics instructional materials. Travis, the end of your journey has arrived.
Only the beginning.
Well, she's like, what are you telling me? You don't sound like I know.
Journey to get to the vote for math materials.
Thank you. In accordance with district policy around core instructional material selection and adoption, and after a 3-year process of professional development, research and collaboration, the district's math study team recommended last month that the Board of Directors formally adopt Houghton Mifflin Harcourt's AGA materials as the core materials in high school algebra, geometry, and algebra 2. Additionally, the team recommended that the district approve the use of open educational resources for math courses in high school, so-called fourth courses. Supporting the math study team in the process were students and parents and high school teachers, curriculum leaders, technology experts, and administrators. I'd also like to thank the board tonight for your participation in visiting classrooms and asking questions about especially the use of technology in math instruction. We also had the support from students, teachers, staff, parents, and the Citizens Curriculum Advisory Committee with feedback about our process and improving our recommendation to the board. So again, I'd like to thank Lisa Allen, our chair of the CCAC, and that committee for their help in forming our recommendation. Since the 24th, we haven't had any additional comments or questions from the board or from stakeholders in our community, so I feel like our recommendation was well understood. And I'd also like to thank Stephanie Blair and Nabil Zarazek, who are two teachers on special assignment, one representing math and the other representing technology, who really broke down the walls, I think, between the way folks talk about technology and the way folks talk about math instruction, and have come with sort of an unprecedented proposal for the board for high school math. I would, at this point, ask that the Board of Directors adopt Whitney Mifflin Harcourt AGA as core instructional materials in high school math, as well as the use of open educational resources, which we'll vet on an ongoing basis as a math study team.
All right, so I'd be looking for a motion, and then you can give Travis questions or comments.
So I'll make a motion that the superintendent, or that the board of directors adopt Mifflin Harcourt AGA materials as the core instructional materials for high school algebra, geometry, and algebra 2, and approve the district's plan to evaluate and utilize on an ongoing basis OERs for all high school mathematics courses.
Second.
Questions and comments? Janine, and then Evelyn.
I just also wanted to thank you for the extensive work out in the community. I attended one of those community events with Stephanie and Nabil, and I just really appreciate all the work that was done on this with, the teachers' time and the committee and the CCAC. This has been a really extensive process, and so just wanted to say thank you.
And I also want to echo the same comments. This has been a long road. This has been examined extremely closely. We've tried a lot of different alternatives in our research. Very well thought out approach. I really appreciate the carefulness that the whole team has applied to this, and so I'm really excited for us to move in this direction.
Thank you.
Wayne?
Just quickly echoing, for a long time we've appreciated the growth of the CCAC and becoming a hardcore piece of the evaluation process for curriculum, and it's been an outstanding process to go through. Thanks to everyone who's participated and helped make this a reality.
Thank you.
Okay, the fourth person to echo. In addition to all of the hard work that you have done, I don't remember there being an adoption before that was prefaced with over the last 3 years, teachers have been studying best practices and trying to perfect their craft. I also, in addition to that, I really appreciate the ability for people to go in and observe in classrooms. Your teachers were so open to not just board members, teachers, technology people, business curriculum people. A lot of us who don't do math instruction, so might have had questions that they weren't used to getting. And they were just amazing hosts for all of us, so kudos.
Thank you, I'll share that with them.
And I'll say that we're on our way to live for your school district with this adoption.
Awesome. Very exciting. All right. With that, moved by Glenn, seconded by Eric to approve this mathematics adoption. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're not quite off the hook, guys. Next, Steve will walk us through the accreditation process.
So I never get the opportunity to do this publicly, but I also want to recognize Travis and Stephanie and Becky, our CCAC. This has been an amazing job that they've done in the orchestrated and very impressive. So I know that's not part of what I'm supposed to talk about. What I'm supposed to talk about is on the 24th of February, we asked your permission to begin work with Advanced Ed to become an accredited school system. Now, the accreditation moniker is not necessarily what we're interested in, it's the process that we're interested in. We would like to engage in an ongoing continuous improvement process where professionals come in evaluate us on 5 different standards related to highly effective school districts, on worldwide standards, and tell us how we're doing. Identify areas of strengths and opportunities for growth. It will help us inform future strategic plans. So it's up for approval tonight.
All right.
I move we approve the recommendation to proceed with advanced ed systems accreditation.
Thank you. Second. Anyone have any questions or comments? Eric?
So can you just clarify, what are the costs involved in this accreditation, if anything?
Yeah, we're looking at about, depending on the timing for each school, about $12,000.
And you judge it's worth it, I take it?
Yeah, any evaluation of our system is going to cost some amount of money. It's definitely an important investment for us, and it's something that we budgeted, hoping that we could accomplish this.
12,000 per school or 12,000 for this
overall?
And the way we used to pay for it was by high school, when the high schools went through the process, right?
And this, we go through this process, we're accredited, we will be the first school district in the state of Oregon.
Yeah, technically, we would be the very first school district. It's not required by the state of Oregon.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, we could
we could say that.
set the stage and have others, but we will be once it goes through Congress.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah.
And I think the real importance of this accreditation is to get their response, to get their feedback, constructive criticism of what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. I think it's really important.
Glenn and then Adrian.
So I also want to make the comment, because we just had some of our budget numbers that $12,000 is a real cost. But I will say that I think that the research that we get out of this to basically help us to improve our performance on a limited budget is actually a pretty good, investment in our future. So I'm in support of it. We are spending some accreditation money anyway, so it isn't really the $12,000. It's actually less than that when you consider the overall deal. So I think it's money well spent.
The other thing, I think it's an entire team that goes out that they put together to go to the schools, correct, and it's based on kind of a performance model of how Head Start does it a little bit, where they sit down and they consult and they give feedback in areas of strengths, areas of weaknesses, and that. So it's pretty thorough.
It's pretty thorough. With our team, the Office for School Performance Executive team, are all going on visits in other districts and other states, and so we're pretty familiar with what it's going to take. We're going to do pretty well on it, but it is comprehensive. They evaluate all stakeholder groups, look at performance data, look at our plans. Now the 12,000, that's what it ends up being. We have the budget for it, so don't quote me on the 12,000, but because it could ebb and flow based on the travel costs and things like that. We are responsible for some of those costs. So.
And just one last thing, you did discuss in the last meeting that we're in a pretty good position. We have a lot of things in advance ready to go for it. We're doing already, right? Correct.
So we've been pre-evaluated. In order to go into the process, you have to put together a tremendous amount of artifacts to show that you are a good candidate. And they came in, they met with Monty, and they confirmed that we are excellent candidates for accreditation. But we have areas that we need help in.
Yeah.
So it's not just going to tell us how great we are. We want their feedback on where we can improve.
Okay. So with that, it was moved by Monty, seconded by Janine to approve our participation in the advanced ed process. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Steve. And next is school buses.
Yes, school buses. As you know, we're going to be implementing full-day kindergarten this next year, and as a result of that, we are going to be in need of some additional school buses. We're going to be transporting 750 to 800 additional students each morning and afternoon. As you know, we currently have a full or a half-day program, which means that we bring in half the kids in the morning, take them home midday, pick up the other half. Well, now we're going to be picking them all up in the morning and taking them all home again in the evening. So that's going to require about 10 more routes. And the proposal is to purchase 10 new large buses, 84 passenger buses. We are also in need of 7 additional sped buses, the shorter buses, just to accommodate the growth that we've seen in our special ed programs. So what you have is a proposal to purchase 17 buses in the amount of $2 million. Again, this is money that is directed from the state school fund specifically for the purchase of buses. And then we are reimbursed 70% of the depreciable cost. So we get reimbursed, it's a 5-year lease, we'll get reimbursed 70% and 1/5 of that cost each year. But this is what we need to do in order to accommodate all those new kids in our special ed population.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
I move we approve the financing of 17 school buses on a 5-year lease with an annual payment of $415,462.84.
I will second that.
All right. Questions or comments? A good question, Adam. On our packet, it has an additional piece that says that it's approved. There's another resolution regarding the U.S. Bank government leasing. Do we need to approve that motion within our motion? Sorry.
No, I think we do. So is that delegated to me? In the resolution? That's a very fine question.
Why don't we go ahead and add it to the motion just so we've got it? Monty, would you mind modifying that motion for me? And get that whole paragraph.
I move we approve the finance of 17 buses, school buses on a 5-year lease with an annual payment of $462.84. If approved, the board will be asked to adopt a resolution required by U.S. Bank government leasing on April 28, 2015.
And I will second the entire.
Thank you so much. Questions or comments? Wayne?
So we were talking just last hour or so on the budget committee about various ideas with the potential need for planning for the $4.5 million shortfall. There was a talk in that meeting about the various ideas. One was kindergarten, not saying what's likely or not, but the full-year kindergarten. This is a consequence of full-year kindergarten. And I believe that there's also an issue on here about expanding the bus yard because of more buses, which is another expense. Is there a timeline that aligns with the budgeting process that allows the whole thing to be dealt with at the same time instead of launched and spent before we have our budget issues handled?
You want to talk about our window that we have for purchasing?
Well, yeah, there's a couple of issues, and they're strictly timing issues from if we're going to receive these buses before the start of school in September, we have to get them ordered before the 1st of April. That's just the timeline that those folks work under. The same is true with the bus yard. That is going to have to be done this summer. We have to go through a whole permitting process in order to make that timeline. So my answer, I guess, is if we're not going to move forward with full-day kindergarten, that's a decision that needs to be made sooner or later in terms of a budgeting from my budgeting standpoint.
Is the $2.5 million is what's thrown around as the cost? Does that include the
No,
cost?
that's the operational cost. This is
there's 2.5 and another 0.5 a year, and the floor is another. I forget. It was a dollar figure with the
to add the additional.
So that's like 3 or 4 million and change.
Did you want to talk about the reimbursement percentage as well?
Well, as I mentioned, we will be getting reimbursed 70% of these costs and the cost of the transportation yard over the depreciable life. Now, for a bus, that's 5 years. For the bus yard, that's a 25-year depreciation. So that will come back to us, but it'll come back at a much slower rate.
So you're saying 80%. So of the $500,000 a year, your math was leading to what coming back?
It's 70% of 20% a year. So we'll get reimbursed 70% of the total cost, but we get it over time.
But we have to pay the $500,000 a year up front and get back
70%. Correct. And the other thing I didn't mention, it's included in the situation page, is that we are in the midst of paying off one of the 5-year leases that we currently have in place for buses. So this is not all new cost. This will be replacing a current lease that we have right now. So in answer to your question, we would need the 7 sped buses regardless of whether or not we move forward with full day K. But if we're not going to do that, that impacts more than just the bus purchase and the transportation yard purchase. That impacts a lot of what HR is doing right now. Our assumption has been all along that we were moving forward with full day K. So.
Assumption was also that we were going to be at least even on the budget too.
Just a reminder with the full day K is that we would get a full weighting for that, which is a good thing. I mean, it doesn't fill the whole gap. I understand that, but the other thing to keep in mind is that we believe full day kindergarten is a good idea.
So do I.
And we also understand that if we are one of the few districts that doesn't provide full day kindergarten, we will lose students because of that. Sure. Because there will be an opportunity right next door for that to occur for parents. So that's why we continue to say that full day K is something we need to pursue, and it's a good idea. It may mean that we have to make some other tough choices.
Glenn?
All right, just so I get my math straight now. All right, so the overall amount of money that we're going to be paying over the 5 years is $2,777,000, et cetera, okay?
Correct.
And basically, we're paying that at equal amounts of $415,000 a year.
Correct.
Okay. So we're going to get reimbursed 70% of that $415,000 each year.
Correct.
Okay, good. So really the out-of-pocket cost, which is it's 1 year out of pocket, really comes out to approximately about $75,000 or less.
Right.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure we were talking about.
And just to expound on Mike's point about the math, if we assume 800 additional weight in our formula at the half weighting of, if the full weighting is $6,400 per student, which is roughly what it is right now, those 800 additional students would equate to about $2.5 million. So from an operational standpoint, the cost of the additional staff and the new furniture we're going to have to buy, that kind of thing, is going to basically wash. The additional revenue we're going to get is going to offset those additional costs. It's not going to cover these costs up front for transportation.
Other questions or comments? So it's been, go ahead.
Can I amend my motion to say that if we don't approve kindergarten, that this voids this approval?
So we approved kindergarten previously, so we would have to start a process to undo that. Right? Didn't we approve that before we started the registration process?
That's right.
So they've already enrolled students. I mean, we did the press release after we approved it previously.
And the other thing is once we approve the buses, the order goes in, and we would have a tough time avoiding that. Guess if we didn't, they could repossess them.
So, what was your question then? Wayne, I thought that was your question. That if we didn't go ahead with full-time kindergarten.
I just found it interesting. The discussion came up when we were brainstorming ideas in the budget committee. And then these are 2 additional costs that we're incurring because of it. We're accumulating costs while we're talking about where to cut. It just seems unfortunate to have to talk about them independently. Not that I'm trying to pull a kindergarten. Everyone believes it's a good idea, but they're...
Yeah, in terms of the buses themselves, this is money that's dedicated from the state school fund to purchase that equipment. That's not the case with the improvements we have to make to the bus yard. That is something that we're going to have to pay for out of our construction excise tax fund. So we would have some discretion over how we would spend that money if we weren't going to invest it in the transportation yard. With the school bus purchase, that money is dedicated towards the purchase of school buses.
And that may be something that most people don't understand. Talk a little more about that, about specifically that money is allocated for the purchase.
Yeah, we have to set aside a certain portion of the transportation reimbursement that we receive from the state school fund for the purchase of equipment. And the idea there is they don't want to be paying us for those operational costs and not having us investing in a fleet.
So just number-wise, I'm thinking numbers, like, because I know we're only paying 30% every year for these buses for 5 years, right? The pavement is what we're going to have to come out full cost, which is whatever amount we approve for the bid that we're looking at, correct?
No.
Oh, no.
Reimbursed as well.
Okay, so, but we're going to have to come out with that cost. We're going to get it
We're going to have to
back
pay for it. Yep.
over 25 years. So basically what we're just looking at is a 30% an addition every, that we're going to have to pay every year for the 5-year lease.
$625,000.
So that's basically the number that we're looking at, that we're...
Correct. That's the difference between what the lease payment will be and what the reimbursement will be from the state.
Okay. So that's basically what we're... I just wanted to look at a number value and look at the expense of us not providing full day. I don't feel that should even be for question in that sense, and not that we shouldn't question it, but I think the investment in our early years and our children in full day kindergarten is critical and worth that expense. That's all I just want to say.
So another assumption you're making is that nothing else changes that would cause you to need to have the capacity of the buses. Ideas that have floated around in the past are, we all kind of like the notion of all the schools starting at the same time, and that simplifies things in one way, but if you're talking about trying to resolve a $4.5 million shortfall and cost of buses, there could be alternate schedules. Alternate schedules have been brought up in the past to allow the buses to be double utilized, things like that.
It's really triple utilized. There's 3 different ways buses to go out. So if we were to, the more we condense the bell schedules, the less flexibility we have, the more buses we would need. Excuse me. The more we condense, the more buses we would need.
Yeah.
If we're starting,
everybody starts at the same time, we need more buses.
But because it's a kind of a triple rollout, we're able to get by with the number of buses that we have.
But you're still trying to deliver all of the twice as many kindergartners to school. The fundamental argument is you're trying to deliver twice as many kindergartners at the same time to the same school.
But it's not the same time. We stagger the bell schedules to make sure that we can get kids on one bus to several schools.
So like Patterson starts at 7:45, McKinney will start at 8:15, and some of the other schools start.
Correct.
So you think you're at your limit of staggering the schedules?
Yeah, we would get into either we have to start significantly earlier or significantly later. So
the nice thing about this kind of idea is that it's something that doesn't reduce instruction time. It just changes things in a way that saves money. So it's there's hard conversations to come, and this is one that's at least in the realm of providing all the services we plan to provide without additional costs.
Just one more question. Okay, so we have to make this order if we approve it, right? And I'm not saying I recommend this or anything like that, but say something happened and we did end up having more capacity with our buses than we need. We could actually sell some of our buses or sublease them out. So they don't have to sit empty and be a dead weight on our thing. So if we're looking for creative solutions, we still can, if we really need to go down that route, do something, assuming the sky is falling, we can take steps. Unfortunately, timing is proven to do this now, at least this part of this. But we don't necessarily have to pay that area of the bus barn because, if those buses aren't going out, they can sit in the grass. Not necessarily recommended, but they can do that. So we have options. We're not committing ourselves to everything. So,
not with this resolution. You will.
That's the next one?
Yeah.
Okay,
next resolution.
All right, I'll withdraw that last part.
All right, did we got all our comments? So it has been moved by Monty and seconded by Glenn to approve the purchase through a 5-year lease of 17 school buses. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm looking at our students. Be patient. We promise to get to you. I see your droopy eyelids, and I know that you have homework and school tomorrow morning. I will try to keep us going quickly for you. I try really hard for you. Next is to award the bus bid for transportation bus yard.
Okay, so this is the companion to the new buses. Our current bus facility, transportation facility, is at capacity, the paved portion of it. We own an additional unpaved portion at the back end of the transportation facility. These new buses are going to require that we pave that area, and it's not just the paving. I think included in your plan was a schematic of what this new area would look like. But it will allow us to increase the capacity beyond just these 17 buses. But it will allow us to make the half street improvements, all the things that the city requires if we're going to use this for a parking facility. We have to pave it, we have to drain it, we have to have catch basins, we have to do half street improvements on the street, on the side of the facility. So this is what it's going to cost to make those improvements. And again, the timing issue on this is that if we're going to make this happen this summer, we have to start the process so that we can get the permits and everything in place.
I'd be looking for a motion first, and then we can give Adam some questions or comments.
Make a motion to authorize the administration to award the contract for the improvements to the transportation bus yard to Evergreen Pacific in the amount of $554,416.
That was 44?
544,000?
Yeah.
Yep.
Didn't I say that?
You said
Oh.
544, we got it. All right. Thank you, Janine.
No, I'll second that.
Thank you. Any questions and comments? Can you, to Glenn's earlier question, could you just address why it has to be paved?
Okay.
It has to, I mean, it's because of the road improvements and other things. I mean, we can't.
It does. We can't just park buses out there without, the city is requiring us to go through this process. And part of that is we have to grade it, we have to take care of the stormwater. We have to go through their permitting process.
And this, no offense to the city, are they good partners in that? Do we pay the same permitting fees as everybody else, or do they look upon us nicely as the nonprofit?
We work very well with the city, and they work very closely with us on these types of issues, but they have their system development charges that we are going to be required to pay.
Yeah, Monty.
We're going to pay this out of the construction excise tax fund. We discussed this in detail last year, as far as we were taking a lot of money out of there to finance tech. Do we have any money left once we pay for this?
We do. In fact, my plan is to bring you at the April board meeting a detail of all of our bond interest, our construction excise tax, all of those, our PERS reserve fund, the balances of all those funds. But yes, this and my next piece on the brick sealer are both included in those budgets, and they are both on our high priority maintenance list of things need to be done.
So once we've paid for these, can you give us an estimate of what's left in the fund?
I will at the April meeting. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Do you want us to spend money, but you're not going to let us know what's in the checking account?
Well, I think you should.
I can tell you we budgeted for it. I mean, I can't tell you what the balance is.
Yeah, but we might want to spend it somewhere else, is my point.
If you do, then we need to not buy buses.
Huh?
If we're not going to do this work, then we need to not buy those buses.
I can also tell you that before we scrap this whole idea, I can also tell you that this has been a site that we've been outgrowing for a long time. We've actually pursued the idea of the site over by Liberty High School, some of the property that we own. So we've been looking at expanding the bus yard for a long time, just because it's so tight in there. As the district grows, it's going to be something that we have to do anyway. It's this is the ideal time to do it.
Yeah.
We're going to have to expand that, and I think one of the recommendations that we'll see at a future long-range planning committee meeting and eventually the school board meeting will be a satellite facility on the other side of town, probably at the Liberty site. We have 18 acres over there. If we're going to have to invest in additional space for more buses, which we're going to need as we build more schools, having a site on the other side of town seems to make sense, that we would stage some of our buses over there and some of our buses at this site. The problem is we're not at that point yet to develop that facility. It's going to be significantly more than what we're proposing to expand our existing operations.
Well, my point is that we could use that money for other things.
We certainly could.
And in the interim, we could park our buses across the street at that used car lot that's empty right now. We could lease that space for a year.
I have not looked at that. I have no idea.
Insurance liability for in case of theft.
And the reason we haven't looked at it is we own the property that we're proposing to improve.
Other questions for Adam? Okay, so with that, it's been, June, do you have something? Okay, sorry. And moving to the second by Glenn to approve the award the bid for the transportation bus yard expansion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Adam. And Adam, you have the next one, which I know is ongoing. So.
Yeah, it wasn't really my goal to come here and with a whole bunch of...
This one's been going on for a while, it's all right.
This has been. So what you have in front of you is a proposal to reapply brick sealer to 7 of our brick schoolhouses that have not had this water repellent brick masonry exterior sealer applied since they were new. This is something that I think you can think of it along the same lines as you would for paint on a wood structure. After a period of time, that protective covering that protects that building from water breaks down. And what this will do is we'll take off all the old stuff and reapply a new sealer to these 7 buildings. So again, it's money that we're going to be paying for out of bond interest. And you're right, there are other things we could do with that money, but as a property owner, I think this is something we have to do to maintain our facilities.
Okay. Make a motion to authorize the administration to award the contract for application of brick sealer on 8 school buildings to Evergreen Pacific in the amount of $155,250.
Second.
And if I remember correctly from Long Range Planning, you've been doing this in cycles, like in batches.
Yeah, we haven't done one in several years, but this is right at the top of our list of high priority.
And we're batching them so that, because you have more than these schools.
We do.
Yeah, I'm picturing that spreadsheet in my head.
These are the most needed.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Janine?
The only comment I'm going to make is that the fact that a lot of times that we're in the position with our facilities in the care that they are. I don't know how I'm saying it. Because we take care of our buildings. Our buildings are not in a situation, as you saw when bond and levies commercials came on for Portland Public Schools and whatnot. We're not in that position because maintenance is important to the upkeep of our buildings to keep them healthy and going for many long years.
We've been fortunate since I've been here anyway, in that we've had that bond interest money to allow us to not have to defer maintenance on a lot of these projects. Right. So we don't have roofs that are leaking like you see in a lot of other districts. We're able to do these kinds of maintenance.
And it's important because that's a cost saver for tax-paying citizens that we pay for the upkeep so that we don't have to pay for the...
We've invested hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in these facilities, and it's our job to maintain them.
That's just my point.
Any other questions or comments? So it's been moved by Janine, seconded by Eric to award the bid for the brick sealer at 8 schools. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I'm going to quickly look at Corp Nova. Are your students available to be?
Oh, I thought you got them before.
Thank you. So, board members, what I would be looking for right now is a motion to move item number 9A, the College and Career Pathway Update, to the next item so that our high school students don't have to be here until 10 or 10:30 this evening.
I would happily do that.
So if I could get one quick motion, we'll move them on.
I make a motion to move item 9A up into the agenda so that the students can be seen now.
I'll say that.
Perfect. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, ladies, for your patience, and please join us.
If I'm one of the ladies.
Sorry, I was the green pants, so you just your eyes are actually wrong.
No, thank you for moving the agenda item forward. Tonight we're here to share an update on the College and Career Pathways project. We've tried to share with the board over time the structures around different career learning areas, and tonight we're going to hear from the Human Resources Pathway. First, I want to acknowledge a couple folks who are here who are on the steering committee for the College and Career Pathways project. Board member Janine Solomon's on the committee, but also Erin Carlson is here with us tonight in her role as the Hillsboro Schools Foundation president? Executive Director. So thank you. Along with Beth Grazer and Mike and Matt and Steve and Lori Boyd and Becky Kingsmith, who are here tonight as part of the steering committee that put this work in place 2 years ago. And now we're seeing the fruits of our vision. So thank you for your participation. Our Career Pathways project is designed to create more dual language internship opportunities for students so that everything that happens in school is meaningful toward their future career aspirations. And tonight, Brooke is going to introduce students and staff who are exploring pathways related to human resources. So Brooke Nova, College and Career Pathways Coordinator.
Good evening. First, I want to thank the board members who went on the field trip with us in February and touring the different classrooms. I know that to our staff, it was so meaningful for them to have you present in their classrooms and seeing the work that they're doing. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do that because it meant so much. So just want to acknowledge that. Tonight, we are here for human resources. For me, I wanted to look up the definition of human resource. I think for this one, it's a little bit aloof to us. So what I looked up was human resources weaves together work in areas that focus on people, their needs, growth, development, and their safety and well-being. So that breaks down into 3 clusters, one being education and related fields, human services, and public services. Also doing some more research, I learned that I looked up a report from U.S. News 2015 Best Human Resource Jobs, and the top 5 are school related. School psychologists are supposed to increase by 11.3% by 2022. Speech language pathologists, 9.8% by 2022. In our U.S., 168,000 jobs for elementary educators, 53,000 for high school, and 76,000 for middle school. So human resources is definitely a career pathway that our students should be learning about and connected in their classrooms and community, as it's still a high growth, high demand field. Within Oregon, by 2020, by a chalkboard report, over 16,000 new licensed teachers in Oregon, so 1/3 of the teacher workforce will be replaced by 2020. So something else to know, and Shelley's going to talk about her program of how it's so important that we continue to create pathways for our students in the field of education. Not only as teachers, but as school psychs, as speech language pathologists. There's so many different realms within education. Going back to when we presented about Ignite, that in September, that's a focus and a purpose of that, as well as to show and highlight the educational fields that are offered. So, if we can I have maybe the clicker?
The clicker's missing.
What? This is like a see-through mystery and salt. Okay, so I guess we'll do next slide.
There is a keyboard up there.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay, so our focus programs of studies that are highlighted in our school district. Remember, each time that I come, it's talking about our classroom to community opportunities. So within our school district, each high school has their own child services program. Century has PAC, and Liberty has fire science science, which one we saw, and 2, we heard last year the students and the teacher came to speak about that. The bold ones are our Perkins related programs. Shelley is a Perkins teacher. She's going to the Oregon Career Tech Conference next month to talk about her program as a Perkins teacher. What happens if I need to click on the link? Sorry. What happens if I need to do that? Okay, thank you. All right, so I just wanted to highlight, I know that we're doing an update on human resources, but I also wanted to show the growth and communication rollout for college and career pathways. So one, our website is alive and well. It was activated January 1st. I also want to pass out cards that now all of our counselors have to give this information to not only our students, but our parents, and how to connect to this site. So I'm going to, one, give each of you a card. I also brought enough for community members tonight so that you guys can start using our website as well. You usually don't get a party favor, but tonight you do. Okay, I also have them in Spanish too, so if we can pass those out as well for those who need it. So this is a part of the communication rollout plan. Thank you to Communications and Beth for this piece of it, because as we continue to grow our program and communicate that out, having a centralized location for this information is key and crucial. We're going to scroll down though to the Human Resources link, and if you could click on that, that'd be wonderful. Okay. So what the plan is within each pathway is, one, to start to highlight our focus programs of study. So not only can our seniors look at that, but also, our high school students, but middle and elementary students can as well start to think and look at our programs. Businesses are also starting to create videos as well. So I had the planning department, for example, the city of Hillsboro called me yesterday. They're going to make a video so that we can put on our website to show what does the planning department do in Hillsboro. How could our students be connected into that field? So this is the ongoing creation, but within the last couple months, it's continuing to grow. If you could scroll down. Sorry, thank you so much. Keep going.
Like the wizard.
Okay, each of our career learning advisory teams have been hard at work this year. It's amazing to go from meeting 1 and now we're going to meeting 4. By meeting 4, what we're doing within the Human Resources Career Learning Advisory is the City of Hillsboro has created Intra-University. So what they're doing in April is they're working with our students in child services and in that PAC program that I highlighted, and they're doing mock interviews, but they're taking them from waiting in the waiting room all the way through the interview, giving them feedback, and also working on their resumes with them. So that's one project that we've been working on. Ruth is going to talk about her school to work internship with the Hillsboro Chamber of Commerce. She did an extended internship with them, and they're continuing to take our students for a long-term internship. The Ignite program is alive and well. They've been doing internships in HR with the Office of School Performance. They're also tutoring in elementary schools now every other day in 5 of our title elementaries. They continue to work in BLAST, and then also in the ALOS program, which is a nonprofit soccer organization that's taken our students as interns this year. So that's some of the work that we're doing within the human resources and around that community connection of businesses, students, teachers, community members, counselors, talking about how to move our students forward from classroom to community. Okay, back to my slideshow. Next slide. Okay, this is my favorite slide I always get to share with you guys, is how much money our students have saved in dual credit. I just love to give you these numbers. So within each high school, you'll see in yellow the amount of credit that's been earned through the different programs of study related to human resources. So through each of our child services programs, through college and career, dual credit at Glencoe, and also through fire science at Liberty. So the totals read at the bottom: almost 2,000 at Century, almost 19,000 at Glencoe, almost 13,000 at Hill High, and a little over 155,000 saved free money by doing dual credit within those high schools. So that comes in total of 594 of our students took advantage of dual credit opportunities within human services within human resources last year, earning 2,051 credits and total savings $188,692. And that comes from the PCC report of last year. Okay, moving on. So, as always, Shirley has made you a video to show internships in our community, highlighting students in the human resources field. Monica Mendoza is in the video. She was going to come tonight. She's working at Fred Meyer's until 9:30, so she's probably not going to make it. But Shirley's going to talk about the video and interviewing those students. And then Ruth is going to talk about her internship that she just completed with the Hillsboro Chamber of Commerce. Take it away, Shirley.
So just a quick plug. That Entry University thing, I am collecting professional attire from part of my senior project. Part of the whole interviewing process, we really want to make sure that they're really prepared so students can pick out, I don't know, just a tie or something, so that way they're really, really prepared when they go to these interviews. Please drop off whatever clothing you can to her office, and I'll make sure to take care of that. Just a quick plug. So I think going back to interviewing these students, I think it's pretty remarkable just to see how much an internship. Again, that's going to be the common theme throughout this. By the way, we're halfway done, so don't even worry about it. We're almost there. No, with the amount of videos you have to see. I think it's pretty remarkable to see how these internships really changed. The college freshman at Pacific Lutheran University, Tanisi Payne, she went in, she was certain that she was going to become a nurse, and then after working in that internship, and not necessarily working within that internship, but going down and seeing the Human Resources Department with Health and Human Services, and really just dealing with social work and all those things, within a couple weeks she decided completely to change her major. That is incredible. I think just imagine how much time that could have eventually taken her in college and the amount of money that could have gone through that just to be able to determine that.
Let me share, just with that student, she was just a graduating senior at Century when she did her internship last summer, so she went through a program of study, did an internship over the summer before transitioning into her freshman year, and that's what you're going to see is her speaking to that, and then changed her decision in college right before she was entering. Let's go to the video.
Okay.
University. I'm majoring in geography, minoring in GIS and sustainability. I'm working in the planning department in the city of Hillsboro. And a summary of my duties, I'm working on reorganizing the transportation impact analyses. I didn't realize how varied the planning career is. There are certain aspects of planning, long range, for example, that require forward-thinking 20, 30, maybe even 50 years into the future. The Metro Council, for example, they look 30, 50 years in the future. But the long-range planning division in Hillsboro looks 10, 15, 20 years into the future, and that is a very different aspect of planning than I would have expected. There are two very different sides of planning, the current and long range, which is long range that I didn't expect when I came in to have something so immediate and something so far off.
Okay, so I'm working for the Washington County Disability and Human Services, and we do me and Michael, do whatever needs to be done. We do scanning, we scan in cases that are old that are closed, we did a ton of phone surveys on the phone, we helped organize rooms like the brochure room, and we just do anything that needs to be done. And we're pretty busy most days.
got an internship with the Chamber of Commerce for our first semester. I had early release and I went there every other day and I got half of an elective credit. So what I learned at the Chamber of Commerce was I learned what it does. And more specifically school to work, because I feel like when you're at school and when they say like, oh, you have to do a job shadow and you have to do an internship for your focus program of study, nobody really, like, I never really knew where it came from. I thought it was just kind of like, oh, you go to this, like if you want to do this, and I didn't know like the behind the scenes work of it, and I got to learn that at my internship. I also learned what like a professional environment looks like, which is so different from school or like anything you would experience normally. I more specifically ran the social media website, so like the Twitter and the Facebook, and just because I'm younger and I already had experience with social media. So I also presented at Bunco, which is where I go to school, during lunch, and I told other students about what School to Work is and what it does and how it helps them. And I brought like a trifold presentation during lunch, and I invited other kids to like listen about it. I also made a personality career quiz where you like take a little quiz. It's really fun and like not very accurate because I'm not a psychologist and I don't know how to make a personality quiz, but like they ask you really fun questions like if you had lemons, what would you do with it? And then if you said like I'd make a business and like out of lemonade stands, you would be for like business. Or that was really cool. That was like one of my favorite parts of it. I tweeted the link to like try to get more followers on the Twitter, and yeah, it was a really great experience. I met a lot of new people I wouldn't have otherwise met, and everybody was super welcoming. So yeah, it was awesome.
Thank you. Something that I want to mention before we introduce Shelley is, just because of the time-sensitive piece of it, the business and management group, the career learning advisory team, has created the Tuesday teen market. So I just wanted to put a plug in for that, which they are opening up one whole street of the Tuesday market just for teens this summer, where students are able to sell either their art, their crafts, their welding projects, their birdhouses, whatever they want to sell. They're also working with a financial planner on how to move their business forward or save that money for college or their first car. But the application is due after spring break, and so just if you have a team that, or if you know of someone who is very artistic or is even good at face painting, they can open a booth at our local market this summer and have that money and learn about being an entrepreneur in our community. So I just wanted to say that because of the timing of that. But that's another project that one of our career learning advisory teams has been working on this year, which is really exciting for our students. The reason that Shelley was selected to present, because each of our child services programs is amazing. Shelley's program last year, looking at the PCC data, had 60 students who earned a total of 162 credits within her particular child services program. So I asked for her to present because of the number of students, the amount of credit that her students earned last year. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Shelley.
Thank you. I have been the career technical education teacher in early childhood education for the last 11 years. In fact, I have the exciting distinction this year of having one of my first preschoolers now in my first year child service class. So that was really fun to have that complete turnaround. And just so you know, you can always go back to school. I took on an administrative internship this year through Portland State, so it's been a busy life this year. But it's very exciting. Our students mostly focus on early childhood education. They can get up to 5 free college credits through PCC. Our big focus is child development and pedagogy. So how do you plan a lesson? How do you teach the lesson? How do you care for and guide young children. But a lot of our students are also interested in other ways of working with children. So I have students interested in counseling, pediatric medicine, family law, coaching, special education psychology, and hopefully at some point some of them will be here in the Hillsboro School District as teachers, which would be really great. Our students teach everything from science and math, reading, writing, art, physical education to our preschoolers. They create the lessons and hopefully make these stations really exciting for the kids when they come in every morning. There's multiple opportunities for our students to reach their essential skills for work during preschool, so they listen actively, speak clearly, and present publicly when they're presenting their lesson plans and guiding large groups of children in activities. They have to think critically and analytically as they work with children who are new to working in large groups, listening to adults that are not their parents, and just figuring out how do you do this school thing. They also have to deal with personal management and teamwork skills, everything from what do I wear in the morning, because it's a preschool day and I need to come in and look professional, to I also need to be able to get down on the ground and sit with children and play with them and maybe they'll help children as they want to work in the garden today. So they have to think about those things, and they also have to think about teamwork. You have to make sure that the science lesson you're presenting today isn't duplicated because somebody else also planned that activity. So they have to work together. They have to do a lot of research. One of the things that our students do is go on field trips. And so before any field trips happen, our students have to do a research project on field trip. Thank you. On field trip safety and sanitation. And so research, reading text, using technology. Basically what I remind them on a daily basis is this is a professional job. We have children that will be entering our Hillsboro school system, and we want to make sure that they're ready and excited to go to school when they get out of our program. And I have had the joy of having many businesses call and ask for references so that my kids can get jobs. So are already working in the industry. Thank you. I wanted to show a picture of our program here. One of the major things that it's the next one. One of the major things our students get to do is learn not only how to work with preschoolers, but how to work with parents and families. So we have a number of events. There's the field trips we go on. There's parent-teacher conferences that our students will be running at the end of April, and they're running it themselves. We have in-house programs. We have everything from a Grandparents' Day event. We have, you can imagine all of these children holding hammers and nails and permanent paint, building beautiful birdhouses. That was our Father's Day event in January. We'll have a Mother's Day tea party and a big graduation. So there's a lot of opportunities for the students to acquire the skills they need to work with families and community and to be a professional. And then all of these papers, the field trip paper, they'll do a developmentally appropriate practice paper, they'll learn about classroom management, and through all this research they'll add to a portfolio that will also duplicate as their senior project, and will also be a wonderful way to work on acquiring a job in college. And finally, there's a lot of joy in working with children. We have students that come in, they're tired, they think, I don't want to go to school today, and then they walk into the classroom and these wonderful preschool children run in and they're so excited to get there and they can't wait to see what the students have planned for them, and they're excited to see their friends and to meet their teachers, and it does a reset on their attitude about school. And some of our students who really struggle in the rest of school do really well in our child services program. It really gives them a home and a place to belong and to feel important and empowered in school. And Sandra is going to talk a little bit. She's one of my 4-year students. Oops, I'm coughing. There you go.
Hi, my name is Sandra Nolasco. I've been in the child services program for 4 years. My senior year, I'm really excited to be graduating this year. And well, through child services, I've learned so much. It's like the best class ever. I love going in there and like seeing all the little preschoolers going and like, hey Sandra, oh my God. They like literally make my day. And it's like the best class, and if I could think about a class that I'm really going to next, it's going to be child services. And I'm definitely going to come back and sit down. And Mrs. DeWitt, she's such a great role model, and I'm so happy that I took this class. And I have learned so much. I've learned self-management, responsibility, and also to work in a teamwork, because we have to communicate with the rest of the teachers and make sure Mr. DeWitt said that we're not allowed to do the same project, because then it's just going to be a lot of problems, confusion. And right now I'm actually doing an internship at Lincoln, and I'm a tutor, and it's awesome too. I love going every morning. It's great. I wish I could go every day. It's really fun. And thank you, Ms. Nova, for the opportunity. And I'm also a Boost Scholar, the bilingual teaching program, and it's great. And I'm so excited that I got accepted to it. And I'm going to Western in September, and I'm so excited to go there. Yeah, it's great, and I'm so excited to be a teacher. It's the best.
And come back to Hillsboro.
Yeah, definitely.
So hopefully you were able to see too how our classroom and our community come together and impact so many different students in so many different ways. If you have any questions, we'll take them at the time. I know that they're running short on time though, so it won't hurt our feelings if you don't have any questions or comments, don't worry. But we are open if need be.
Anyone else have questions? Glenn?
Not really a question, but I just want to say to you guys and also to the students who came before the college week, I'm so proud of you guys for supporting what you're doing. It's fantastic. I love to see stuff like this. Thank you for visiting us.
I love it. The only thing is, Sandra, I think I met you when you were very little. Really? Yeah, I used to work for Head Start, but I was a 4-year also child services in my high school, and it just transformed me. And the relationship you have with your teacher is the relationship that I had, and I was just like, I'm going to be a teacher, just teaching kids. And so listening to your story, and I was like, no, that's cool. But that's awesome. So I just wanted to share that.
Anyone else? Thank you so much. Thank you for your flexibility and
Thank you for listening. Since you're here, can I just take a picture? We're all
Okay, come on up.
Okay, we'll see if the trigger's a little faster. All right, one more.
Thank you. Thank you. And with that, we will move back to our action items. And the next item is to approve the resolution agreement for adoption of the amended 403 plan document.
Doesn't require, I know, it doesn't require any money. So, we currently have a 403B plan document, and it specifies in there that the district plan administrator is the CFO. What I would like to have you do is align what we're currently doing, which is to name the director of business services, which is Michelle Morrison, to add her to this plan document so that she can be one of the other signers on this. So that's really all this is. It's a change to the plan document which requires board approval according to our plan.
And for clarification, do you need us just to approve the resolution, or is it one of those resolutions where we have to read it into the record, or is signing it sufficient?
No, I think you're just authorizing me to sign.
Okay, perfect. So I would be looking for a motion.
Actually, kind of the point of order. I mean, just reading this, it says it has to be unanimously adopted by the board, and I think one of our members just stepped out for a bio break. Is that an issue?
Good question.
I have a question.
Yeah.
All right, let's do the questions
So
first, and then we'll get
it's
them on.
you, and if you're not there, her, or is it just her?
It's just her.
If she's not there, what do we do?
Well, the same thing we've done when I'm not there, which is wait till they get back.
All right, so if I can get a motion.
I move that we approve the resolution agreement for adoption of amended 403B plan document.
Second.
Any further questions or comments? It's been moved by Eric, seconded by Janine to approve the resolution. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Tell Michelle, thank you. Next, we have 2 policy revisions. The first is IKF graduation requirements. Matt.
Good evening, everyone. February 24th, we went through a first reading of policy IKF, and we talked a little bit about the graduation committee that provided input for that. The policy, during the 30-day review, I haven't had any questions or comments regarding the policy, so it's our recommendation tonight that we approve the policy IKF that is written there.
Okay. Can I get a motion on the proposal?
We approve. Recommend that the board of directors approve the recommended revisions to policy IKF graduation.
Second. Thank you. Questions or comments? Monty?
When will we address this again?
Say that again.
Does it rotate every 4 years we look at the requirements, or?
I think it would depend on legislation and when OSBA and legislative bills might affect that. I think that Val or Mike might be able to talk a little more specifically about if this is on a rotation on the actual graduation policy.
And it's on a rotation. Last time we addressed it was in 2012. But we do have policies that are on a rotation and they come up. OSBA actually triggers us when we bring those forward to the board. So I don't know how many years that rotation lasts, actually. Something I'd have to find out for you.
Okay. Well, my question is related to if a board member happens to have a recommendation for a graduation change, how would we go about doing it?
Oh, yeah. They would request that we put it on the agenda and we would bring it forward for discussion.
Okay. Because I believe, I'll vote for this, but I believe we should be looking at the future and requiring our students to take a personal finance / time management course. Just because if they don't go to college, they're going to need it. If they go to college, they're going to need it. And it's one thing that all of them can use. And I'm not sure foreign language is something that a lot of kids not going to college is ever going to use. So that's...
Glenn?
So all along, my one and only slight was the chancellor's diploma, going from the 3.4 to the 3.0 level that you have to take. In the end, I've accepted your logic that, maybe there's ways I wish everybody in the communities, that this has been the challenge. Students who wouldn't necessarily, put their GPA at risk to take these harder classes and go for the chancellor's diploma. I think that's a good thing. One of the things that came in discussion with a constituent the other day was their concern about, basically having these classes that are harder like this, having less kids in them versus the general classes that, people will feel safe taking. And my point back to him was that, really what we need to do is we need to do a good job of marketing these more advanced classes to these students. So, we've got this teacher teaching for college credit, and so we really need to do a good job of pulling these people in. So I assume that's part of your plan of rolling this out, is really to teach the virtues of, it isn't all about that GPA, getting into a good school. It's about the whole package. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I can comment on that real quick. One of the key pieces of this, and I think I heard it come out in the values of the board when we first discussed this in January, but also in the committee, is it's not only the credit requirements that we have, but it's actually the guidance lessons and the counseling that we provide students on their options for the future and what classes they take. And that's a key piece of this, that we know that we have some great practices going on, but we also, in this committee and in this policy proposal, are talking about making this the level that we want all students to succeed at, that chancellor's diploma. So that does require us to be really clear and really concise about I guess I would say the counseling and the guidance requirements that each student gets throughout their middle school and high school experience.
That's all I had. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Let me add one more thing too, Glenn. I want to make sure, I couldn't remember, I was thinking about it sitting back there. I remembered that you brought that up last time about the GPA and the 3.4 versus 3.0. Again, one of the things that I want to point out, the committee recognized that, and they included the honors recognition, the vowels and salves recognition in this policy, which wasn't there before. So there's still an opportunity to distinguish higher levels of achievement for all of those students that are earning the Chancellor's Diploma.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
And I just wanted to clarify, so I'm trying to do the math in my head, I'm sorry. 2019 is incoming freshmen next year?
Correct.
So how are we getting these materials since forecasting is already started, so that they know it's changing and getting into that whole concept of really trying to help all students achieve a Chancellor's Diploma and understanding the value of the Chancellor's Diploma, regardless of what they want to do in year 13?
Yeah, so the next step that we would be taking on this is really to take a look at our AR and our guidance practices and make sure that our counselors are on board and our principals are on board so that the messaging is very clear from here on out from what our goals are as a district.
I'm just thinking a lot of times is that when you go to that freshman orientation, you try to help your student pencil out all 4 years or that trajectory you're hoping they're going to hit, and I just don't know if there would be any big surprises for anybody.
I think that's a great point.
Is it possible to plan a report back on the preparation and the readiness for the implementation of this? Imagine it will work out over the now through the summer, or maybe even in time for forecast. I'm just interested in the follow-ups to make sure we're successful.
Absolutely.
That's an appropriate time there.
Yeah. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, so it's been moved by Wayne, seconded by Janine to approve the graduation requirements in policy IKF. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And the next policy update is policy KL. Debbie.
Thank you. So at the February 24th board meeting, a revised policy KL public complaints was put forward to the board with the recommendation that we also delete policy KLD because parts of it is incorporated into the revised policy KL. I have not received any feedback or questions during the 30-day review. So the recommendation is that the board approves the policy revision and deletion.
Thank you. All right, this was on our page.
I make a motion to approve the recommended revisions to policy KL, public complaints, and the deletion of policy KLD, public complaints about district personnel.
Second.
Any questions or comments for Debbie? Whew. All right, there we go. We're starting a new trend. So it's been moved by Janine, seconded by Eric to approve the revisions to policy KL and delete policy KLD. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Debbie. Next, we are going to recess out of our board meeting, convene into a meeting of our local concept review board. Amazing, it's like magic, can take one meeting to the next. We have a situation where we need to declare an emergency. Adam, can you walk us through this?
Happily, yes. Last night we had a hot water line burst at North Plains Elementary School, flooded the area around it, and we had to apply a sleeve to the pipe. This morning we had to call in a contractor to clean up and do some additional plumbing work, and then over the spring break we're going to need to get in there and completely replace that section of the pipe. So it's looking like we're going to bump right up against the $50,000 threshold that would require bids on this project. What I'm asking is that the board declare an emergency and allow us to go ahead with these repairs on an expedited basis so that we can get this work done over spring break.
Okay. Wayne, you want to take us off?
Yes. So I'll read this statement. We, the members of the Hillsboro School District Board of Directors, declare an emergency to facilitate immediate repairs to the district property at North Plains Elementary School as a result of a burst hot water line that happened on March 16, 2015. This resolution is being adopted in conformance with Oregon Public Contracting Statute, ORS 279C, dealing with the emergency exception to the competitive bid requirement. This will allow the necessary repairs to be conducted over spring break.
Can I get a second on what was basically a motion? Yeah, there we go. Does anyone have questions for Adam?
Did we have problems at North Plains last year?
Yes, we did. It was in January. No, it was a hot water line. It's a different section of the same line. As part of our long-range planning process, we have a complete refit of that whole building. But obviously that's going to be significantly more expensive and not something that we have the funds to do right now. So that's what we're up against right now. Yeah.
All right, any other questions? All right, so the resolution has been moved by Wayne and seconded by Janine. So I'd be looking for approval of the resolution. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The resolution passes. So Adam, you have permission to do what you need to do. And with my magic wand, we adjourn the meeting of the local contract review board and move and reconvene the board meeting. I'm not one of these at the dinner table, I'm just saying. With that, we will move into reports and discussion. And the first item up is Travis and the science adoption update.
Thank you. Did you have a PowerPoint? I want to introduce...
You have Devin really nicely.
Devin, thank you. So if you were getting disappointed to see the conclusion of the math study team, buckle up, because we started in June with our science study team. So first I want to introduce the leadership team. Arsena Tovat and Becky Kingsmith are our coordinators for elementary and secondary curriculum, teaching and learning respectively. Their role, when you hear things like pacing guides and planned course statements and guaranteed and viable curriculum and PLC practices, these two leaders are the ones who make that happen for secondary and elementary educators. And so as part of the science study team, they're going to be taking a deep dive into science education and figuring out what our teachers need to deliver on next generation science standards and create equitable outcomes for students. I think you know Sandy Grinnell, who's our teacher on special assignment for science. She's also our liaison with the Portland Metro STEM Partnership. She's also coordinating the after-school STEAM extracurricular programming that's going on. And so Sandy wears many hats. We also rely on her to be our science expert K-12, and she's really connected with Oregon Department of Education and science leadership in the state. So as a team, we'll be leading the science study team over the next year or two. Tonight's update is a brief review of the process that we go through in a study team way before we ever come to the board with a recommendation for materials adoption or proposing what our course sequences are. So we're going to go through where we are tonight in the program evaluation and goal setting part of the process, just so that the board is abreast of the changes that are going on with the science study team and that you're learning along with us along the way. So we, in June, Sandy, convened a team of students, educators, administrators. We have representatives from the Hillsboro Schools Foundation, a former science teacher who's been on the science study team. And the first thing that we do is we look at outcomes for students. We look at data. How are students doing K-12 in our science program? And this year we actually again, credit goes to Sandy for convening a panel of students who share their experiences as data points in terms of their experience in elementary and how much science they got, what kind of supports they got from teachers and curriculum tools. So we did a lot of learning about our current state in terms of science education K-12. And tonight we're here to share the second step, which is really focused on our beliefs around science education. And then we're going to be going through our 5 driving goals for the process before we go into next generation science standards. Okay, here we go. So these statements have been introduced to our K-12 administrators, our district administrators, and our science study team members, and in a sense sort of ratified. These are the beliefs that we have regarding science education in Hillsboro, and they are a foundation for the goals that you have in your packet that we'll be discussing tonight. We believe science education is a prerequisite for success as a student pre-K through 20, across college and career pathways, and as a global citizen, rather than an elite opportunity for some. We believe race, gender, first language, socioeconomic status, and special learning needs should not predict one's opportunities or successes in science education. And we are willing to deconstruct systems that create elitism, inequitable access, inequitable outcomes, and low-quality science education, and reconstruct systems that promote equitable access to high-quality science education and equitable science achievement outcomes. Those are our beliefs for our students in Hillsboro, and we as teachers and leaders have committed to that, even though that might mean restructuring our master schedules or revising our practices as educators. Our team's going to help read through the goals, and then we'll welcome any questions as soon as we're finished.
So our first goal is to be able to get our science teaching and learning be fully aligned to the next generation science standards by the year 2016, 2017. What's exciting about this is that the standards have more commonalities than differences. So it's going to be essential for us to help teachers understand what the commonalities are specifically in the practices, Common Core, Next Generation, and Math ELA and Math, have commonalities in the practices, and it's going to be very essential for teachers to understand it in order to move forward. We do have teachers that have already jumped in and are implementing the new science standards, and they're pretty much helping guide the work for us.
And again, by 2016, 2017, our goal is that all K-12 students will regularly experience and report being challenged and engaged by science learning opportunities that align to the next generation science standards. We really want to be intentional about making sure all of our kids, K-12, have access to these opportunities.
Our third goal is that by the 2018-2019 school year, so that would begin with the freshman phase-in starting the 2016-17 school year, that all Hillsboro School District high school students will access a common science course sequence. So courses will be open to all students with academic supports in place for rigorous coursework. The courses will be demographically representative of the student bodies of each school and will be heterogeneously grouped. So by common course sequence here, what we're really talking about is kind of the first 3 courses series. So we're exploring kind of and looking at the research and the data and talking actually to some of our neighboring districts as well about what is options, what's possibilities, and this will be something that will be part of that science study team process with our high school teachers in looking at the different options, whether that, talking about biology for all starting at freshman or physics first or kind of what that would be. Also that heterogeneously grouped would mean that we wouldn't necessarily separate out a different honors class, but rather the honors levels would be available to all students within that heterogeneously grouped class period.
And beginning in summer 2015, all K-12 science teachers will engage in ongoing high-quality professional learning, promoting instructional practices that enable teachers to meet the following goals: provide 3-dimensional science learning opportunities, and I'll tell you what that means in just a minute, differentiate for diverse students, create a safe and engaging classroom culture through responsive teaching, integrate literacy and language development with science learning, and provide opportunities for follow-up and collaboration to support classroom implementation of professional learning. So if we look back at that 3-dimensional learning is what is so unique about the new next generation science standards. It used to be that science standards primarily covered the content that teachers could cover, but the next generation science standards really integrate science and engineering practices within the content and also embed common themes that are found across the different science disciplines. So that's essentially what 3-dimensional learning is in a nutshell, and it looks different from how science teaching and learning looked in the past. And all of these other different areas in which we need professional development will help our teachers in the heterogeneously grouped classrooms we are able to meet the needs of all of our diverse learners.
And our last goal here is that by the 2019-20 school year, all students, that includes race, gender, first language, socioeconomic status, and students with special needs will be equitably represented in all high school science courses, and achievement gaps between students' racial groups will be eliminated. So when we're talking about equitably represented in all high school science courses, we're meaning that our science courses, whether it's a biology class or an AP environmental studies class, that those would all reflect that student demographic population of that high school. So we would see a ratio of our students enrolled in that AP class, that biology class, that chemistry class, reflective of the general population of that building.
So as you can see, these are lofty goals, and what we plan to do with the team starting tomorrow afternoon is to split really into an elementary focused group and a secondary focused group and start to move forward with what the plan for next generation science implementation is over the next couple of years, and then move into that deeper understanding, especially at secondary, about course sequence and course offerings and how to make those equitably accessible and to get equitable outcomes for students out of those courses. So we welcome any questions at this time, and we look forward to sharing with you along the way.
Okay, so as you can see, a bit of a contradiction here between something we heard a few hours ago. So when Steve was presenting the student achievement for the district, he talked about how, given the socioeconomic status and the various groupings of our students, we had to expect to be relatively lower in the state rankings, for various reasons. And I think there's a lot of external factors, right, that we can't control that cause people with different socioeconomic status to not do as well in school. So I'm a little bit worried when I see in your reply that you want them to be precisely equal by 2020, especially when earlier you mentioned that you're not going to have separate honors classes anymore. Well, one way to guarantee that equality goal is to suppress the top level achieving students, right, so that everybody is at an average level of achievement, and that'll eliminate the differences. And it seems to me with the combination of making that your goal and eliminating the honor classes, I'm wondering if there'll be a push in that direction, not intentionally, obviously, but sort of implicitly.
So a couple things. When we talk to parents and students, what we guarantee is that we're going to do everything we can to give students a fair shot to have the highest outcomes possible. So while it's true that as a system we can look at socioeconomic factors in a community and make ugly statements, like we know that in communities of poverty across America we see lower performance, but that's not our goal for ourselves. So that's kind of a foundational part of these goals for us, is to hold ourselves to that higher standard. We believe that students living in poverty, students of all races and genders, should be equally successful. The second part of that is that in terms of setting goals for access to those higher courses, advanced placement or IB courses, we don't want to use your words, suppress students in accessing those. Instead, we'd actually like to encourage students to challenge themselves by taking those courses and also taking the prerequisites to get there. So there's actually data regionally to show that when you break down barriers to accessing AP courses, for example, students of color, underrepresented groups like female students do well in those courses, and that we as grown-ups have the structures to put in place, like AVID, to make sure that they're successful in those courses. So one of the things that I want to make sure that our community is really clear on when we talk about these goals is that they are aspirational, and they also come with a huge commitment on the part of adults to put the systems in place that get kids in those classes and then nurture them so they succeed. So I don't see this as a dumbing down or a dampening of rigor in our system. It's actually the opposite. So it's a great concern, and I think I would love for all of us to be key communicators on this, because I think these are really challenging goals that our teachers have set for themselves, and we need to be pumping up the energy on that question. Does this mean that students all have to learn the same? No, we're actually going to create as many advanced offerings as we can and open those courses to as many students as possible.
And I remember an example, I can't remember how long it's been now, but at Liberty, where they stopped, was teachers who stopped doing an honors option, and instead everybody in every class had an honors opportunity, and everybody rose to the occasion. So they didn't feel like they had to go to some separate special place to qualify for that, but when everybody was provided the syllabus that showed how you get to the honors option and what that expectation was, how many students she was serving, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, thank you. We've talked about setting the baseline higher, and we studied things like detracking for excellence. What happens when you actually start to tell all students that they're high achievers and that we expect them to be? It's amazing how data will support that that's a strategy that will improve student achievement across the board.
Jane?
I just want to, short and sweet, I just want to say kudos to the work and kudos to that reply. I thought that was fantastic and on the mark, so.
Thanks.
Is part of your future plans coming up with performance objectives to go with these goals? To be able to say, yeah, we achieved number 1, we achieved 2, and this is how we measured that?
So we're talking about, we can get deeper into this, but what's happening at the state level is that we're on a timeline. We kind of remember in 2010 when we knew we were on a timeline to get fully aligned to Common Core. We're on that same sort of a timeline with next generation science standards. And at the end of that, we know that there's a new assessment tool that we'll be able to use to decide whether our students, when grouped in a demographically representative way in those higher courses, actually have equal outcomes as well. So we're looking at that with a high stakes assessment that comes to replace Oak Science, but we're also looking at that with our own local performance tasks and of course our summative assessments that we design for ourselves as educators. So we'll have at least a couple data points to come back in 2020 or 2021 and tell the board, here's what we've achieved in terms of equity of experience for students, but then equity and achievement according to these data points. We don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, we don't know what that next generation science assessment is going to look like, just like we're still wondering exactly what Smarter Balance is going to look like for students. Does that help, Monty? Is that on point? Okay. When you say, did you mean something different?
You're saying you're going to do 100%. Is that what your performance objective is going to be?
We want 100. So we don't think that it's an unreasonable goal to expect that students would be able to meet grade level in science standards. If we do the right thing by elementary students and they're prepared for science in secondary, we don't feel like students couldn't be held accountable for meeting grade level goals across the board. In fact, we offer biology and chemistry classes right now in 2 languages, and we expect that some students can achieve those goals in multiple languages. So we've actually seen science success in pockets, and we've seen teachers open their doors to students in heterogeneous groups, and those students are being successful. We just want to make that a predictable experience for students across our district.
So is it 50, 60% that you would achieve in 3 years? Or
so
90% in 4 years? And I don't expect an answer tonight because you haven't probably thought about it.
I brought some data.
I just want us to have something to measure it on in the future.
I want to give you a snapshot though, in terms of our current Oak Science data and that's corroborated by ACT.
Just a quick question and clarification. Are you referring to the aspirational goals that we have up there, or science achievement?
The 5 goals.
The 5 aspirational goals. And typically we wouldn't, as being aspirational goals, they're kind of states of being that we want to work toward by the end of our effort. So it's not something that we would say a test would evaluate the degree to which kids feel like they have access. But I do think what we can do is come up with and what we've done with the math is be able to say the investments and the effort and professional development, things like that, are producing better outcomes on things like end of course assessments, interim assessments, and state tests. So.
Well, just 4C, for instance, create safe and engaging classroom culture through responsive teaching.
Right.
How do you measure that?
We actually did it.
You can just
well, it's not really the intent of the statement.
It's disrespectful when you put it that way.
We actually, Monty, we did, Sandy and the team, for each of these goals, came up with what the indicators would be. And so some of them actually turned out to be responses on survey data or interviews with students. And so it's not, we are looking outside the box of a test score, especially in the qualitative part of what a student would experience. Or one of the things that the STEM centers taught us is that our self-concept as science learners is an important data point. So both for teachers and for students, how do I see myself? Am I a high-achieving scientist? And if the answer is yes, then you can predict outcomes that are different than if I said no. And so we are actually looking at those data points too. And
I just want to say we're not intending to monitor each one of those 5 goals. Those are really more like vision statements. What do we want to accomplish with our science education in our system? The goals that we monitor really do want to bring us back to the academic achievement indicators. Those are the fixed data points that we want to monitor over time. It may be better to call those vision statements or
Aspirational kind of tells you what it's at.
Right.
A lot of this just is self-fulfilled prophecy, which is very measurable, very proven, and a lot of facts. And you say simple things when things you do when you believe in a student. You let them know that they have a scientific mind, a mathematical mind. Wow, you think like a math thinker. Wow, all of those things play. But as teachers, we have to believe it and own it first. So I just want to say that. And as a board, we have to believe it and own it as well. Years ago, I remember hearing so many gripes in the community about how Intel and our big companies had to be moving people from all over the world and all this money and yada, yada, yada. This to me, I was like, whoa, it was a little too much for me to absorb because they're high, but this is what we need. Because it's not only happening, here, it's happening on a national level and a state level. We're pushing because we have been a country and a nation has fallen behind. And everybody complains, but when we come to do these intentional, aspirational things, because this is purpose and intent right here, because this is what we have to do. If we want the community to stop complaining about all the money we spend and all the then this is what we need to do. We have to be intentional with it. And I really applaud your courageous efforts, your team, to be able to share, this aspirational, because this is aspiring. And we can do it. We can do it. I know we can. And we just want to remind everybody, we have to think about the days of all the complaints. We want our kids from Hillsboro to teach our kids. We want our kids to come and work in our genetics and all the amazing, buildings that are going up in tech companies. And if we want to do that, we have to have purpose and intent, and we can't worry about, dumbing down, because that don't happen. Okay, I was tutored by a very smart person and went to school with very smart people. And it's almost as if them tutoring me and teaching me just pushed them up. So I'm like, kind of thinking about this idea. So I'm just really excited. Full support on the ground level. I'll be not on the board anymore, but I'll be behind this chair, and hopefully, because this is good.
Just to follow up to Monty, we printed out some data to share, but it doesn't show kind of the numbers of where we are today. I'd love to share that with you, though, so you can see what we're shooting for in terms of upping who meets.
Where you are today. Finish line, what you're going to improve on?
I'd like to share with you the data around science achievement that we get from national tests and state tests, and I can show you kind of what kind of growth we'd expect in order for all students to be meeting.
That's all I need.
It must be tough on your dinner table if you're not a teacher.
And I appreciate that kind of accountability, though, because we need to know what we're asking ourselves to do, and our teachers dug way in, and our students did too. We had a protocol where high school students looked at that data right along with us, and we asked them, do you think it's possible for all students to be successful in science by 8th and 11th grade? And their answer to us was yes. We felt like that was a challenge to us.
It could be a survey.
Thank you.
Cool. So your science team is off the hook and your arts team is going to join you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What's the world coming to?
And Travis, I'm going to ask you a question that overlaps between these two, and I don't know if the research has been done. So there is research that aligned the Common Core state standards in ELA and math with the National Core Art Standards, and we have a 70% overlap. I would be curious to know if research has been done with the Next Gen Science Standards and the National Core Standards, and are there overlap? Because I would assume, knowing that values, if anyone has seen that.
If anybody could figure that out, it would be Sandy and Carissa, so we'll research that. Okay. They're connected now. Okay, so quickly, moving into arts investment, the board approved in the 2014-15 budget an investment of $130,000 to provide an ongoing investment plan to provide supplies and materials for our performing arts programs. So tonight I have Carissa Marcus with me. She teaches at Quatama and West Union, and point 1 of her life, which means 1/10, is allotted to overseeing K-12 music. Easy. So she's here tonight. We're really going to focus our presentation on the difference that investment made in the lives of students and teachers over the last few months. And Carissa and I kind of collaboratively shared that. And we'll share some thoughts on next steps in our hopes to invest in the arts. So first of all, just so that the board knows, and you have this in front of you too, that $80,000 went straight to music investment because we had a plan under Blake Allen's leadership, and now Carissa's in order to really strategically invest that money. $20,000 went to theater and drama, $10,000 to visual arts, and then $20,000 to special education. What happened was that we realized we needed to reinvest in connecting students with special needs to arts education, specifically music education, and Carissa can tell you more about that in just a second. Having her on the team is incredible because we've learned a lot about the reasons why we do music and why we do arts education, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here. If you have time, please look at that link.
Choir.
Yeah, thank you. No pun. It's too late for me to make smart word jokes. It's just accidental. If you have time, please click on this link because it's a great little TED Talk about what music education does for us. And I wanted to thank Carissa. She's going to crank through these slides, but then make a comment, especially about the work that she's done around equity and the values of our district as it's shown up in the work of investing these dollars. So, Carissa.
Now, well, first, I just want to say thank you so much for investing in the arts. The teachers are so excited, the students are so excited to have new materials, and it's really encouraging to see that they chose to spend that money in the same values that we have all throughout the district. So the first one that we're focusing on is equity. We have an instrument rental program with 26 instruments right now, but we would like to grow that and have money for fixing all of the instruments as they get used just for general repairs. The band directors really concentrated on some big instruments this year, like tubas and xylophones. They just cost a lot of money to even have. All of the teachers are super excited about technology. We now have iPads in the majority of our music classrooms. And not only are there iPads in most of those classrooms, but some of the teachers spent their money on professional development for an iPad seminar that was specifically focused towards music, and then they came back to collaborate with the teachers and share that with everyone. Our music curriculum is a little bit old, and so we brought some new music and some supplemental material. Some of the really exciting material that we brought was bilingual, and so I really enjoyed that. The upper photo here shows students at Liberty High School performing a song from Iran, and then the lower picture is an example of the African drumming music that some of the elementary schools have as a unit. Our bands and choirs and even the mariachi program have shown tremendous growth, and so we're just really excited about that in our programs. But then that leads to needing lots of facilities and supplies. So the middle school students are showing you that their choir holders were broken. You could see through them and it couldn't protect their music very well. So they got new holders to protect all of that new music that we got them. And then the West Union band here is with their new music stands. We had 52 students start the school year, but only 8 music stands. So the kids were reading their music from the floor and had bad posture, but you can see now we have enough music stands for everyone. These programs really have engagement from their community because of all the performances. In fact, there was a performance tonight that was happening for about 300 plus students over at Hill High, and then there will be one at Liberty this Thursday. There's one at Century last week and at Glencoe, and we have a picture of that later on. Special education, is near and dear to my heart. And so we're really excited that not only were we able to buy technology that was adaptive for differentiation and curriculum that was encouraged by music therapists, but we also spent some of that money on professional development. We brought the special education teachers in the same room with the music teachers, and then we had
2 different sessions where I taught some classes, and then we had a music therapist in our district that came in. She's not employed as a music therapist, but she does have her degree in that, and so she was able to give us some insight as to how that would help our special ed students, and we looked at what that would look like first in just the self-contained classrooms, and then what it would look like in the music-specific classroom, and what it would look like for inclusion and for reverse mainstream classes. And all of the teachers were really excited to get lots of new ideas. They've been trying it out, and I think it's been a really positive thing for our district. Here's a list of the benefits of music education for the specialized programs, and this was shared to us from our music therapist. And one of the things that I was noticing as I was looking through the list, that music is a place where behaviors that are not within the social norms all of a sudden become accepted. For example, movements such as headbanging all of a sudden becomes really cool at a rock concert. And then if you say, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, it can be kind of awkward in a social setting, but if you sing, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay, that's totally okay.
These are pictures that I took from an art classroom at Liberty High School the other day, and according to our art teachers, they're feeling great about the extra dollars just to buy clay and canvases. These are charcoal drawings from our art classrooms. Right now we're in the process of kind of surveying what if this money came back to us next year and deciding where to aim at the need. And so theater would be on the list too, although they benefited a little bit from this year's money. The lion's share went to music. This is Liberty High School and Glencoe High School's productions. If you're familiar with these. And so our encouragement subtly there at the bottom is continue funding the arts. We ask humbly because we know that we just learned upstairs that we're looking at 4.5 million shortfall, and we know that the line item might not come around, but were it to people like Carissa and I are figuring out plans for investing that. Becky and Arsema also have been at the table with Matt and Dale in terms of what's our future vision for arts reinvestment in our community, and so we're ready, no matter what the investment is, to move arts education forward. We'd encourage it to be reconsidered as a line item with the budget committee. We're creating a short-term plan for investing those dollars, but also a long-term plan for restoring FTE so that more students have access to the arts. Carissa has one plug because you ought to know the type of achievement that's going on with our musicians in the district. So Carissa, can you talk to this really quickly?
So in January, there were some honor choirs and some honor bands that were happening in Eugene, and that was on the state level. But there's also some honor choirs and bands happening in all Northwest that's the best out of all 6 states. And then we also had one student qualify for the National Honor Choir. So we just really wanted to bring those names here and honor those students that have worked so hard to achieve those honors. And this is kind of the equivalent for sports. If they were to go to state, this is like the musicians version of state. And then some of them even bigger than that because of All Northwest and then the National Choir. So we're really excited that we have so many students be able to achieve that high honor. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I just thought it was important that we see those achievements because I'm not sure we all have the mechanisms for knowing who those students are. So that's the conclusion of our presentation and our update on that $130,000 investment. Thanks again to the board for supporting the arts investment. We welcome any questions that you have.
I'm going to give a quick comment because I love your showing highlighting students. So we also had students in theater qualify at the state and national level, which is also very much like going to the state championship. All 4 high schools qualified for state, and I believe at least 3 of the high schools qualify for nationals, where they go to summer camp on a college campus and compete against their peers all around the country. I'm not familiar completely with the visual arts, other than they show up on my newsfeed occasionally, the Scholastic program, and often we'll see secondary students qualifying in that competition. So,
thank you.
Questions or comments? Janine.
Thank you so much for the information, and I would just say that it was great to see the students from the band, and that would be a great Facebook post, you know, to be able to really highlight and show investment in arts and what these students are, you know,
Thank you. Great suggestion.
Any other questions or comments? Other than obviously round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for staying so late. We appreciate your time. And with that, Mike, it's 10:10. No pressure or anything, but please give us a strategic plan update.
I appreciate it. Please get that.
It's a tough crowd tonight. It really is. I'm happy to see on committee.
Every quarter we've committed to providing a strategic plan update, so I've asked each cabinet member to go ahead and cover their area. They'll do a brief overview. Remember that on the website you can click on each strategy area and you can scroll down and get a lot more detail than you're going to receive tonight. So, Steve? Okay.
Are you done?
Sounds like
Website, right. Got it.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I can look at mine. You have access to the report. It's all on the website, just to highlight more dual language training focused in on how to be a great dual language teacher, particularly foundational skills, but also into our high school, secondary programs. Continued focus on our ELD instruction and focus on integrated ELD. Finished our math adoption. You saw that. Continued work with our STEAM programs, and last thing I want to mention is that all of our principals have completed their mid-year academic conferences with Mike and I, Matt and Dale, and we continue to be proud of the work that they're doing and how they're aligning it to our district vision.
So are we just talking about it? So since the last time we officially talked, we had the fall edition of our district newsletter that came out and was direct mailed to 48,000 homes in the greater Hillsboro area, which is great. We also did a little research and found a whole bunch of realtors in the area and sent each of them a stack of newsletters with a cover letter, just inviting them to read it, hand them out, let us know if you want more, and here's our website for more info or direct contact for us, so hopefully that will be helpful. We're also really excited to be planning our first ever Proud to Be HSD Festival in partnership with the Hillsboro Farmers Market on Saturday, May 30th, and that's going really well. We're super excited about that. More to come. We are now doing, as you've probably seen, our superintendent videos every month that focus on different topics that are current and pertinent. So trying to ramp up our ability to reach out to people in different ways. So.
Facilities. Long-range planning committee continues to meet on a monthly basis. Our most recent report had to do with we're almost complete in pulling together all of the different facets of our facilities improvements needed on our existing facilities. So we've got a roofing survey that we've completed the update on. Let's see, a mechanical, electrical, plumbing survey that we've completed, concrete and asphalt survey, safety survey, seismic update. So we're in the process of compiling all those. What we know is that there's going to be some overlap between those. So we're in the process right now of compiling all those and making sure that we account for all those potential overlaps. We also have been working with Malem Architects on what it might look like if we were to expand our existing middle schools to a 6-8, the 6-8 campuses. We've seen some initial proposals from them. Right now we're in the process of having them give us some rough costs on what those might look like. So all of this will be presented to the school board probably at the May work session, so that we can give you a complete idea. Glenn has already mentioned that we're in the $100 million range for all of these potential improvements if we move that direction. So, and again, we continue to stay involved in South Cooper Mountain and South Hillsboro, and now City of Cornelius, UGB's expansion. So,
In the area of equity, we have 3 focus areas. So in professional development, we continue to expand and offer professional development around equity for our staff. We have expanded that to include LGBTQ. Our administrators all got some staff development on that, and then they've expanded that into creating a committee, LGBTQ committee, who is designing PD for our schools. So we've started that expansion. We're very proud of that. We have, as you saw tonight, one of our students. We are aggressively going out with our strategies to diversify the workforce and hire the best and brightest teachers. So we have partnerships. We have got the Western Oregon partnership now with our high school students. We have 20 of them that we are going to partner and walk with them through their education at Western Oregon and bring them back to be our teachers. We're really excited about that. We're now exploring a partnership with PCC. They have a paraeducational program, so we're expanding partnership with them to train paraeducators to bring into our district here. And we continue to have our Portland State Bilingual Teacher Pathways program that is bringing in more staff to us. We have hosted 2. We've gotten back into, Mike mentioned today in the work session that really having to aggressively go out and have recruitment opportunities and expanding those to recruit the best and brightest, because we're so in such a competitive world right now. So we just had a student teacher recruitment job fair with our student teachers that was very successful. We're doing that personal outreach to the universities and students there so they will choose Hillsboro School District. We also last weekend did a recruitment fair just for teachers. We had 50 teachers come to that. It was very successful. We have the Portland Job Fair that's coming up, so we're really aggressively going out and reaching out to teachers so we get the best and brightest in this district.
And finally, safety. Under the anti-bullying and harassment campaign portion of the safety strategic plan, we've had a second planning meeting for the middle school implementation of the anti-bullying campaign, and the student wellness survey is being administered to gather more data on perceived bullying and other school safety issues. Under safety procedures, we have installed new PA systems at 7 of our elementary schools to improve communications both within and outside of those school buildings. And we are in the process of upgrading video surveillance at 3 of our high schools and have plans to improve others.
Do we have any plans for middle schools, video?
We do, not for this year though, but that is on the
next year.
Yeah, we have plans to expand to all of our campuses eventually.
All right. Other questions around the update? Janine?
2 things I wanted to mention around engagement. Super excited to hear about the Proud to Be HST Festival. That sounds very exciting. Also wanted to just do a shout out to Beth and Jane for I made a suggestion on the website about some folks have asked about how, who feeds into what school, what's the feeder system. I happen to look a lot of websites and whatnot through my work, and so I was like at this one and I was like, oh wow, wait, and so I just said, hey, what about this? And then like a week later Jane was like, what do you think of this? So it was fantastic. I think it just gives people a little bit of a visual as to where the schools align. So, and then, just as far as props to safety, as far as just communication with, from Greg Timmons, just what do they call a lockout? Lockout.
Yeah.
And the alert went out on email to everybody, and it just was really good communication to just really, it helps because these kids go home and they say something and parents go, what? Or they try to drop their kids off, so.
Casey spent a big part of his day today communicating between the power outage and the steam pipe exploding and this issue. So he communicated a lot today.
Yeah. And that was even good communication as far as the Hillsboro PD called and said, hey, and they did it, and then he sends out the alert. Kudos.
Wayne?
So you mentioned the discussion on the 6/8 configuration discussions and prepping for the future. Two questions related to the middle schools. And I don't know if it's related to when to ask this, but are all of our middle schools aligned on their schedules, the number of periods, the structures of homerooms, and because we work really hard at high schools to get that common schedule. I don't know if the middle schools are aligned in the same way.
They are. Yeah, they've all got a 6-period day currently. There's been exploration and talk about going to a 7-period day.
So we were going to forecasting, and that was the rumor buzzing around about thought of a 7-period switch. And I haven't heard it from this side. I don't know if it's an individual school discussion or across the whole, all four discussion. And since forecasting is active, is that an active possibility being driven by the district? Or what's the status?
So that's not something that can happen by next year at all. We're just in the early phases of those conversations, and we'll continue those conversations into next year and then make a decision before forecast time next year as to if that's something we can move forward on or not. So really there's been, we've had conversations with one parent group who we got together, middle school parent group we got together. The principals have weighed in, and Matt's been having conversations. There's been a middle school study team that's talked about it. But in terms of are we going to get there for next year, we can't. It's also going to take conversation with the union because there's contract language around prep minutes and that kind of thing. So we would have to at least have a conversation about the impact of that decision on that contract language.
Buzz on the floor is a lot more active than that, so I don't know if there's a messaging that you want to work on. But.
What are you saying out there, Matt?
Thought it was done.
Any other questions about the strategic plan? Again, I am just amazed at the level of detail and how clear and transparent you're being about this. I think for those people who think, oh, you waste money or you're not doing enough, holy smokes, those are long lists of things that you are all accomplishing in a very timely fashion. So thank you, and thank you for documenting it. It's really important. With that, Adam, financial report.
Yeah, I don't really have anything in addition to the written report, other than to point out that Yvonne Ducart, our risk manager, is retiring and is actually out on leave at the present time, and is probably not going to be back before her retirement. So it's been a yeoman's work by the entire business office to pick up all of those pieces that Yvonne was responsible for, whether that's tracking workers' comp or leaves or all of those things. We're finding out on a daily basis all the things she did because they're falling to somebody else right now. So we're missing her.
Any questions for Adam? Comments on the financial report? Okay, then with that, we'll move into our other reports. Paul, you have anything tonight? Nope. We're keeping you at bedtime.
Did you have that last first reading?
Huh?
There's a policy first reading.
Oh, I totally missed the policy first reading. Maria, I IT. See, look at that.
I'll be really quick.
Steve, I was just trying to gloss right over you. My apologies. Policy IE.
So
this one's
last,
important. Sorry.
Last board meeting, we had an approval to move forward with a K-8 schooling option. In doing that, it forced us to have to look at policy IE because the policy, the way it's written, requires us to follow only the grade progressions that we've written down. So the proposed policy that you have here removes that kind of language, but it still requires board approval for any adjustments to our sequence. It just makes it a little bit easier that if we want to make a change, the approval has to be there, but we don't have to change the policy next time to correspond to that change.
There's actually music to that.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, does anyone have any initial questions on this one? So if you have comments between now and it comes back to us in April, okay, speed your guide. So my apologies for glossing over that. I didn't mean to. K8. All right, Maureen, thank you.
I can just boil it down to, we had bargaining this morning and we had this meeting, and I think what comes out of all of it is that we are committed to doing what we're expected to do to provide a good public education for our students, and we're pretty cranky that Salem is not supporting us in that, and that's our message. We're not going to whine because Susan McLean warned us not to whine, but we will go down with facts.
Is there anyone from HCU tonight? No, okay. Thank you. And with that, Superintendent.
All right, really quick, I wanted to highlight, we were at an ELL conference this past week, and there was a number of folks from the district there, a number of people that presented and did a really nice job presenting to people across the state on our efforts regarding our English language learners. A highlight, though, was at the end of the conference, we had students from Hillsboro High School in the dual language program. I came down and they did a panel for 600 educators that were there. And it was actually the same students that we had here, but with a bigger audience. They were more charming, they were funny, they were more engaging. They really rose to the occasion, and they got a standing ovation at the end. People were coming to pose with them for pictures. They really did a nice job. So they represented the district incredibly well, and their whole message was around the benefits of being bilingual and how that served them well, and in turn that served the community very well. So definitely a highlight for us. Great way to end that conference.
Awesome. All right, board member time. I'll start with Eric.
Okay, I just want to quickly mention, in line with the arts that Travis was talking about, that I took my 8-year-old to see the Addams Family at Liberty High School a couple weeks ago, and it was just an amazing job. And we can tell that because the toughest critic in the world, my 8-year-old, is sitting on the edge of her seat paying attention to it for 2 hours. But nothing makes her do that. So I just want to say I'm really impressed.
It's late, so I'm going to hold up to this.
Okay,
So, going to echo, it's been a fun month. Charlie Brown at Glencoe, that was amazing. Addams Family. Also this month, I know all of us have been participating, but I should point out the board focus groups have been going really well. It's wonderful to get the insights from different types of communities. So it's been really inspiring process to go through, and I think it's really appreciated in the community, particularly to have been reaching out in kind of these new areas to communicate.
Awesome. Monty?
Oh, and Thursday. Sorry, Thursday. They mentioned it, but Liberty's got its big band. That's right. All elementary and intermediates all flowing into the biggest, what do they call it? The biggest music production in the district. So it's really fun.
Monty?
I have a very high regard for all the time and effort my fellow board members give to their positions, but I was very disappointed in Janine Durant in our work session and the fact that she was allowed to continue. I think Glenn presented a professional proposal for our consideration, but was personally attacked, as well as persons in the audience, including questioning his and my ethics. I suggest we reserve judgment on the proposal based on the facts and avoid personal attacks on board members. Thank you.
Janine?
I wanted to comment on the student rep. I hope that we have movement. I know that Mike's been working on student rep talks with various districts and whatnot. So I'm excited to see that develop. I actually want to talk a little bit about the importance of our health standards and the importance of the work that's done there, because recently there was a thing in the news that stated that the parent brought up, or the community member brought up about condom usage or condom whatever. Well, in Mississippi, they're not even allowed to talk about and show their high school students anything about condoms and sexual education and whatnot. There is I can't remember, 73 to 76% students surveyed in high school said they are having sex in high school, during high school. And 1/3 of the parents in the state of Mississippi are teenagers. So I just think it's very interesting because I think that it's important for us to make sure that our health standards and the things that we are working with our students on, it's imperative. It's important for their health, it's important for their safety, and I just appreciate the work that's done. And I talk to educators that are working, especially like in Liberty, with the students and the future. What is the future? My Future, My Choice program. Fantastic. So I just wanted to just comment on that.
Thank you.
Well, first off, thank you all for our die-hard guest for sticking it out till 10:30 at night, so I'm not going to belabor things. Just want to make one quick point, though, that sometimes the processes that we go through do get a little fiery, but that's part of what happens. I think together we make great decisions, so I'll stay with that. Thank you all for coming. Have a great rest of your morning.
And I will close with a couple of thank yous to Mike and Beth for taking very seriously the legislative work right now. I feel like this is the biggest communication push that we have done as a district in a long time. That's around advocacy. And I think rather than think about cutting arts programming or not buying science books or not having band equipment, I really encourage us all to continue to challenge our legislators to reinvest in education. It is the best investment to grow your state economy so you do not continue to have this problem. Thank you, whoever, Beth, I'm assuming, with all the portraits that are on the walls, they remind us why we are here. And to our partners, the Hillsboro Hops, I was able to attend with Mike. They're a fundraiser and they're working very hard to bring turf fields to our communities so that students can have access year-round to playing that sport, and they are great partners. With that, thank you. We are adjourned.